The grand chamber of the Galactic Senate buzzed with a cacophony of alien voices. Delegates from 1,000 worlds argued in hundreds of languages, their heated debates echoing off the polished walls. Holographic displays flickered with data streams and urgent messages, casting an eerie glow across the vast amphitheater. Suddenly, a hush fell over the assembly. The central platform, usually reserved for the most pressing galactic matters, began to rise from the floor. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as an unexpected figure came into view. Seated in an antiquated wheelchair was a human ancient by any species standards. His wrinkled skin hung loosely on his frail frame, and wisps of white hair clung to his spotted scalp. Yet, despite his fragile appearance, his eyes burned with an intensity that made even the most seasoned diplomats shift uncomfortably in their seats. As the platform locked into place, the old man's gnarled hand trembled, clutching a small device. It was unlike anything the Senate had seen before, not a translator, not a data pad, but something different. The Senate chair being, a towering insectoid, leaned forward on its podium. "Esteemed colleagues," it clicked, mandibles twitching nervously, "we have an unexpected guest." The human's lips curled into a smile that sent chills through the assembly. He raised the mysterious device, his finger hovering over a button. "My friends," he croaked, his voice surprisingly strong, "I come bearing a message, one you cannot afford to ignore." The device in his hand began to glow, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Alarms blared throughout the chamber, but no one moved. They were transfixed, unable to look away from the frail human and his ominous gadget. As the old man's finger descended towards the button, one question burned in every being's mind. Who was this elderly human, and what power did he hold that could silence the entire Galactic Senate? The device beeped once, and the chamber held its breath, waiting for whatever came next. As the tension in the Galactic Senate chamber reached its peak, the scene suddenly shifted, transporting us back in time and space. 1 month earlier Earth. Marcus Chen, 92 years old, sat in his modest apartment overlooking the bustling skyline of New Beijing. His weathered hands absently stroked the arm of his wheelchair as he gazed out the window, lost in memories of a long career in interplanetary diplomacy. A soft chime interrupted his reverie. "Message for you, Mr. Chen," announced his AI assistant. "Read it," Marcus said, his voice gravelly with age. The AI's voice filled the room. "Marcus Chen, your presence is requested at the Galactic Senate. Humanity's fate hangs in the balance. A ship will arrive for you in 48 hours. Come alone. Bring nothing but your wisdom." Marcus's bushy eyebrows shot up. "What? That's impossible. I retired years ago, and humans aren't even part of the Galactic Senate." He wheeled himself to his computer terminal, fingers flying over the keyboard as he tried to verify the message's origin. But every search came up empty. It was as if the invitation had appeared out of thin air. As night fell, Marcus found himself unable to sleep. The invitation plagued his thoughts. It had to be a hoax, or perhaps a sad prank on an old man. And yet, the next morning, a small package arrived at his door. Inside was a device unlike anything he'd ever seen, sleek, alien, and humming with barely contained energy. A note accompanied it. The key to humanity's future. Marcus held the device, feeling its weight, both physical and metaphorical. He had 24 hours to decide. Stay in his comfortable retirement or answer this impossible call that could change everything. As the sun set on the second day, a shimmer appeared in the sky above his apartment building. A ship, unlike any human craft, descended silently. Marcus clutched the mysterious device and made his way to the roof, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement he hadn't felt in decades. The ship's door opened, revealing an interior that defied human understanding. Marcus took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. With a determination that belied his frail appearance, he wheeled himself forward, leaving behind the world he knew. As the ship's door closed behind him, Marcus couldn't help but wonder, what role could a 92-year-old retired diplomat possibly play in deciding humanity's fate? And more importantly, who had really sent for him, and why? The ship rose silently into the night sky, carrying Marcus Chen towards a destiny that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. As the alien ship ascended through Earth's atmosphere, Marcus found himself in a chamber that seemed to shift and change before his eyes. A holographic display flickered to life, filling the room with a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. A soft, genderless voice spoke. "Marcus Chen, we have much to discuss and little time. Humanity's position in the galactic community is far more precarious than your people realize." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes widening. "What do you mean? We've had peaceful relations with the few alien species we've encountered." The voice continued. "Those encounters were carefully controlled. The truth is, humanity is seen as a potential threat by many in the Galactic Senate." The holographic display zoomed in on Earth, then showed a rapid series of images: human wars, environmental destruction, and rapid technological advancement. Your species' capacity for both creation and destruction alarms many. Some fear you will upset the delicate balance of power. Others see potential that could revolutionize the galaxy. The Senate is divided, and a decision on humanity's fate is imminent. Marcus's mind reeled. Decision? What kind of decision? "There are three possible outcomes," the voice explained. "Quarantine, Earth would be isolated, cut off from all galactic civilization. Stewardship, your planet would be placed under the direct control of the Senate. Or integration, full acceptance into the galactic community, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." The old diplomat's hands gripped his armrest tightly. "And where do you fit into this? Who are you?" There was a pause before the voice answered. "We are a faction that believes in humanity's potential. We've chosen you, Marcus Chen, to speak on behalf of your species. Your words in the Senate chamber will determine Earth's future." Marcus felt the weight of billions of lives settling on his shoulders. "Why me? I'm just a retired old man." "You are more than that," the voice said. "Your experience, your wisdom, and most importantly, your humanity, make you the perfect ambassador for this crucial moment." As the ship hurtled through space, Marcus's mind raced. He had to prepare the speech of a lifetime, one that would convince a skeptical galaxy that humanity deserved a chance, and he had to do it with virtually no preparation and no idea of the complex political landscape he was about to enter. The mysterious device he'd been given pulsed in his pocket, a reminder of the unknown factors at play. As stars streaked by outside the ship's windows, Marcus Chen, the unexpected envoy of humanity, began to formulate the words that he hoped would save his species from isolation or subjugation. Little did he know that his speech would do far more than just that. It would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Senate itself. As the alien ship hurtled through the vastness of space, Marcus Chen found himself grappling with challenges he never anticipated in his long years of diplomacy. The first obstacle hit him like a gravitational wave: space sickness. Despite the ship's advanced technology, his 92-year-old body struggled to adapt to zero gravity. Nausea and disorientation plagued him, making it difficult to focus on the monumental task ahead. "Computer," he croaked, fighting back another wave of queasiness. "How long until we reach the Senate?" "Approximately 72 Earth hours, Marcus Chen," the AI responded coolly. Marcus groaned. 3 days of this misery, and then he'd have to deliver the speech of a lifetime. He began to question whether he was truly the right person for this mission. As hours crawled by, Marcus attempted to draft his speech using the ship's holographic interface. But the words wouldn't come. How could he possibly encapsulate the entirety of human experience, their potential and their flaws, in a single address? The enormity of the task loomed over him like a black hole, threatening to swallow his confidence. Sleep eluded him, his mind racing with doubts. What if he failed? What if his words doomed humanity to isolation or subjugation? The weight of billions of lives pressed down on his frail shoulders, making him feel every one of his 92 years. Even the mysterious device he'd been given offered no comfort. Its purpose remained enigmatic, and Marcus worried it might be more of a liability than an asset. What if it was a trap? What if using it would only confirm the Senate's fears about humanity? As the ship entered its final approach to the Galactic Senate, Marcus wheeled himself to a viewport, gazing out at the glittering expanse of alien civilizations. The sight, which should have filled him with wonder, only intensified his doubts. "I'm just an old man," he whispered to his reflection in the glass. "How can I possibly represent all of humanity? What if I'm not up to this task?" The device in his pocket pulsed, as if in response to his fears. Marcus closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to summon the courage and wisdom that had guided him through decades of diplomatic service. As the Senate loomed larger in the viewport, Marcus Chen, the unexpected envoy, faced his greatest challenge, yet believing in himself. The alien ship docked with a gentle thud, and Marcus felt a mix of relief and trepidation wash over him. As the airlock hissed open, he steeled himself for his first face-to-face encounter with the diverse species of the Galactic Senate. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin glided towards him. "Welcome, Marcus Chen of Earth," it said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am Zyxala, your liaison to the Senate. Please, follow me." Marcus nodded, guiding his wheelchair after Zyxala. The corridors were a riot of colors, shapes, and sounds, with beings of all descriptions hurrying about their business. Some cast curious glances his way, while others seemed to recoil at the sight of him. As they approached a grand archway, Marcus's wheelchair suddenly sputtered and died. "Oh no," he muttered, frantically pressing buttons. "Zyxala, I'm afraid my chair has malfunctioned." The alien turned, its expression unreadable. "This is most unfortunate. I'm afraid our technology is not compatible with your primitive device." Marcus felt a flush of embarrassment. Here he was, meant to represent humanity's potential, and he couldn't even keep his wheelchair running. "Perhaps if I could have a moment too." But Zyxala was already moving on, leaving Marcus stranded in the middle of the bustling corridor. Alien beings streamed past him, some nearly tripping over his immobile chair. He felt exposed, vulnerable, and utterly out of place. A group of bulbous, gelatinous creatures oozed closer, their translucent bodies rippling with curiosity. One extended a pseudopod, prodding at Marcus's arm. "Excuse me," Marcus said, trying to maintain his composure. "I don't mean to be rude, but in my culture, it's not polite to touch without permission." The creatures recoiled, their bodies flashing with angry red pulses. They began emitting high-pitched squeals that made Marcus's ears ring. Other aliens in the vicinity turned to stare, their expressions ranging from disgust to outright hostility. "I'm sorry," Marcus stammered, realizing he'd committed some sort of faux pas. "I didn't mean to offend." A booming voice cut through the commotion. "What is the meaning of this disturbance?" A massive, multi-limbed being lumbered into view, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the corridor's lights. Senator Clax, Zyxala materialized, bowing low. "My apologies. The human envoy seems to be struggling with our customs." Clax's compound eyes swiveled to focus on Marcus. "This decrepit creature is the representative of humanity. How disappointing." Marcus felt his heart sink. He'd been on the Senate station for less than an hour, and he'd already managed to offend multiple species and draw the ire of a senior official. "Senator," he began, hoping to salvage the situation, "I assure you, my appearance is not indicative of humanity's." "Silence," Clax rumbled. "Your species' arrogance precedes you. You dare to come here, in this pitiful state, and expect to be taken seriously." A crowd had gathered now, a sea of alien faces watching the confrontation with a mix of curiosity and disdain. Marcus felt sweat beading on his forehead, acutely aware of how small and frail he must appear to these beings. I apologize for any offense," Marcus said, his voice quavering slightly. "Perhaps if we could start over." Clax's mandibles clicked in what Marcus assumed was laughter. "Start over? Your species has already made quite an impression, human. Your wars, your pollution, your reckless expansion, and now this pathetic display. Perhaps isolation is too good for your kind. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd come here to argue for humanity's integration into the galactic community, but now he wondered if he'd doomed them before even giving his speech. As if sensing his distress, the mysterious device in his pocket began to pulse more insistently. Marcus reached for it, wondering if now was the time to use it, whatever it did. But before he could act, a new voice cut through the tension. "That's quite enough, Clax. Or have you forgotten the Senate's commitment to hearing all voices, no matter how unfamiliar?" The crowd parted to reveal a being that seemed to shimmer and shift, its form never quite settling into a definable shape. It moved with a grace that suggested great age and wisdom. "Elder Xylos," Clax rumbled, backing away slightly. "This is not your concern." "All matters of galactic importance are my concern," Xylos replied, its voice somehow both soft and commanding. It turned to Marcus, and he felt a wave of calm wash over him. "Marcus Chen of Earth, please forgive this unseemly welcome. Rest assured, you will have your chance to speak before the full Senate." With a gesture, Xylos reactivated Marcus's wheelchair. "Now, shall we proceed to your quarters? I believe we have much to discuss before your address." As Xylos led him away from the still murmuring crowd, Marcus felt a glimmer of hope. But it was tempered by the realization that his task had just become infinitely more difficult. He'd have to overcome not just skepticism, but active hostility from some members of the Senate. The device in his pocket had gone quiet, but its presence weighed heavily on Marcus's mind. As they moved through the alien corridors, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was woefully unprepared for the challenge ahead. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, and he'd already stumbled at the first hurdle. Yet, as he caught glimpses of the vast, star-filled expanse outside the station's windows, Marcus knew he couldn't give up. Somehow, he'd have to find the words to bridge the gulf between humanity and these alien cultures. The question was, did he have it in him to rise to this monumental occasion? Marcus wheeled into his assigned quarters, his mind still reeling from the disastrous first encounter in the corridor. The room was a curious blend of alien architecture and what appeared to be hastily added human amenities. A bed that looked more like a gelatinous pod sat in one corner, while a standard Earth-style desk and chair occupied another. Elder Xylos, the shimmering being who had come to his rescue, glided into the room behind him. "I hope you'll find these accommodations suitable, Marcus Chen. We've done our best to anticipate your needs." Marcus nodded, still feeling overwhelmed. "Thank you, Elder. Your intervention earlier was most appreciated." Xylos's form rippled in what Marcus interpreted as a shrug. "The Senate can be contentious, but do not let Clax's words discourage you. There are many here who are eager to hear what humanity has to offer." As Xylos spoke, Marcus's attention was drawn to a holographic display that had flickered to life on the desk. It showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with Earth highlighted as a pulsing blue dot. "Elder," Marcus began, wheeling closer to the display, "I must admit, I'm still unclear on many things. How long has the Senate known about Earth? And why have we been kept in the dark about the wider galactic community?" Xylos was silent for a moment, its form shifting through a kaleidoscope of colors. "Those are complex questions, Marcus Chen. The answers may not be to your liking." The old diplomat straightened in his chair, his eyes sharp. "I've spent a lifetime in diplomacy, Elder. I can handle unpleasant truths." "Very well," Xylos said, moving to the holographic display. With a wave of its appendage, the map zoomed in on Earth's solar system. "Your planet has been under observation for millennia. The Senate has strict protocols for contacting emerging civilizations, and Earth has been a special case." Marcus frowned. "Special how?" Xylos's form darkened slightly. "Your species' capacity for both creation and destruction is unparalleled in our records. Many in the Senate feared that premature contact could lead to catastrophic consequences." The map shifted, showing scenes from human history, wars, environmental disasters, but also great achievements in art, science, and technology. Marcus watched, a mix of pride and shame washing over him. "But that's not the whole truth, is it?" he pressed, years of diplomatic instinct kicking in. "There's something you're not telling me." Xylos's form shimmered, and Marcus got the distinct impression that the alien was impressed. "You are perceptive, Marcus Chen. You are correct. The full truth is more complicated." The holographic display changed again, this time showing what looked like ancient cave paintings. But instead of depictions of hunts or rituals, they showed unmistakable images of spaceships and alien beings. "Humanity has had contact with extraterrestrial life before," Xylos explained, "many times throughout your history, but each time it ended poorly." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes wide. "What do you mean, poorly?" "Wars, Marcus Chen. Devastating conflicts that set your species back centuries each time. Your myths of gods and monsters, your legends of lost civilizations, many have their roots in these encounters." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. "But why don't we remember? Surely there would be some record, some evidence." "The Senate has technology far beyond your imagining," Xylos said softly. "After each conflict, measures were taken to erase the evidence and suppress the memories. It was deemed necessary for your species' survival and development." Marcus's mind raced, connecting dots he never knew existed. "The device," he muttered, pulling out the mysterious object he'd been given on Earth. "Is this related?" Xylos's form pulsed with what might have been surprise. "You have a memory key? This complicates matters." "A memory key?" Marcus asked, turning the device over in his hands. "It contains the true history of human-alien relations," Xylos explained, "including events that have been wiped from your collective memory. It's a forbidden technology. The fact that you possess one is troubling." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "Who could have given this to me, and why?" Xylos moved closer, its form rippling with concern. "There are factions within the Senate who believe it's time for humanity to know the truth. Others who think your species should be permanently quarantined, and some who advocate for more drastic measures." The implications of those words hung heavy in the air. Marcus looked down at the memory key, then back at the holographic display showing the long, hidden history of his species. "What am I supposed to do with this information?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That, Marcus Chen, is the question that will determine the fate of your species," Xylos replied. "Your speech to the Senate is no longer just about proving humanity's worth. It's about addressing a history we've tried to bury, and charting a course for the future." Marcus slumped in his wheelchair, feeling the weight of this new knowledge pressing down on him. He had come prepared to argue for humanity's potential, but now he faced a much greater challenge. How could he address crimes and conflicts his people didn't even remember? How could he forge a path forward when the past was so fraught with danger? As if sensing his turmoil, Xylos moved to the window, gesturing at the star-filled expanse beyond. "The galaxy is vast, Marcus Chen, filled with wonders and terrors alike. Humanity has stumbled in the past, yes, but you have also shown remarkable resilience and growth. The question now is, are you ready to face the truth of your history and take your place among the stars?" Marcus stared at the memory key in his hand, then at the holographic display still showing glimpses of humanity's hidden past. He thought of the billions of lives depending on him back on Earth, blissfully unaware of the precipice they stood upon. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "But it seems I don't have a choice. The fate of my species depends on what I do next." Xylos's form brightened slightly. "That, Marcus Chen, is the first step towards wisdom. Now, we must prepare you for your address. The Senate convenes in 12 hours, and there is much you need to know." As Xylos began to delve deeper into the hidden history of human-alien relations, Marcus felt a strange mix of dread and excitement. He had come seeking to secure humanity's future, only to discover that the key lay in a past he never knew existed. The memory key pulsed in his hand, a tangible link to forgotten truths. Whatever happened next, Marcus knew that his speech would shake the foundations of not just the Galactic Senate, but of human civilization itself. The question was, would it be enough to save his species from isolation, subjugation, or worse? With a deep breath, Marcus steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The next 12 hours would determine the course of human history, and he was the unlikely fulcrum upon which it all balanced. As the station's artificial day cycle dimmed to simulate night, Marcus found himself unable to sleep. The weight of his newfound knowledge pressed heavily upon him, and the memory key seemed to pulse with an urgency he couldn't ignore. A soft chime at his door startled him from his reverie. "Marcus Chen," Xylos's voice came through the communication system. "You have a visitor. Senator Zarak of the Pleiadian Confederation wishes to speak with you. Do you accept?" Marcus hesitated, recalling his earlier disastrous encounters. But diplomacy was about seizing opportunities, even in the face of uncertainty. "I accept," he said, straightening in his wheelchair. The door slid open, revealing a being that seemed to be composed of living crystal. Light refracted through Senator Zarak's translucent body, casting rainbow patterns across the room. "Marcus Chen," Zarak's voice chimed like delicate glass. "I apologize for the late hour, but what I have to share cannot wait until morning." Marcus gestured to a chair that morphed to accommodate Zarak's unique physiology. "Please, Senator, I'm all ears, as we say on Earth." Zarak settled into the chair, its crystalline form tinkling softly. "First, you should know that not all of us agree with the Senate's handling of Earth. Some of us believe that humanity has been treated unfairly." Marcus leaned forward, intrigued. "Unfairly how?" "The conflicts you learned about from Elder Xylos, they're not the whole story," Zarak said, its voice lowering to a whisper. "There's a reason humanity has been so resilient, so quick to rebuild and advance after each setback." The memory key in Marcus's pocket seemed to grow warmer. "What reason is that?" Zarak's form shimmered with what might have been nervousness. "Your species was engineered, Marcus Chen, not created from scratch, but enhanced, guided, by some of the oldest races in the galaxy." Marcus felt as if the floor had dropped out from under him. "Engineered? But why?" "As a counterbalance," Zarak explained. "The galaxy has long been dominated by a few ancient races. Some believed that a new, dynamic species could bring much-needed change. Others feared that very potential." The pieces started to fall into place in Marcus's mind. "So the conflicts, the memory wipes, they were attempts to control us? To keep us from realizing our potential?" Zarak's crystalline form pulsed in affirmation. "Precisely. But there's more. The reason I've come to you tonight is that I've uncovered evidence of a plot within the Senate. A faction that wants to ensure humanity never takes its place in the galactic community." Marcus's hand instinctively went to the memory key. "What kind of plot?" "They plan to manipulate the Senate vote," Zarak said, its voice barely audible, "to ensure that Earth is either quarantined indefinitely or—" The alien senator trailed off. "Or what?" Marcus pressed, though he feared he knew the answer. "Or deemed too dangerous to be allowed to continue developing," Zarak finished, its crystalline form dimming with the gravity of the statement. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "They would destroy Earth? Billions of lives." "They would see it as preserving trillions more across the galaxy," Zarak said. "But I believe, and others like me believe, that this would be a grave mistake. Humanity has the potential to bring new ideas, new solutions to problems that have plagued our civilizations for eons." Marcus's mind raced. "How can we stop this plot? My speech alone won't be enough if the vote is rigged." Zarak leaned closer, its crystalline body refracting the room's dim light. "The memory key you possess, it's more than just a historical record. It's a key in the truest sense. It can unlock certain systems within the Senate chamber itself." "What kind of systems?" Marcus asked, pulling out the device. "Systems that could broadcast the truth to every member of the Senate simultaneously," Zarak explained. "Not just about Earth's history, but about the plot to manipulate the vote." It would bypass all filters and translators, delivering the information directly to their minds. Marcus turned the memory key over in his hands, seeing it in a new light. That's why it was given to me, not just to inform me, but to give humanity a fighting chance. Zarok's form brightened. Exactly. But using it comes with great risk. The backlash from those who want to keep these secrets could be severe, and the shock of the information could destabilize the entire Senate. If I don't use it, Earth could be destroyed, Marcus said, his voice firm. The risk is worth it. The alien senator rose, its crystalline form tinkling softly. Then we must prepare. Your speech needs to be more than just a plea for humanity's acceptance. It needs to be a revelation, a call to action that will shake the Senate to its core. Marcus nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. I'll need your help, Senator Zarok. There's so much I still don't understand about galactic politics, about the factions at play. You'll have it, Zarok chimed, and not just from me. There are others who will stand with Earth when the moment comes. But be warned, once you activate that key, there's no going back. The galaxy as we know it will change forever. As Zarok prepared to leave, Marcus called out, Senator, why are you helping us? What does the Pleiadian Confederation gain from humanity joining the galactic community? The crystalline being paused at the door, its form shimmering with what might have been a smile. Long ago, Marcus Chen, my people were also uplifted by an ancient race. We know the struggles you face, the potential you hold. Perhaps, in helping you, we repay an ancient debt. With that, Zarok slipped out of the room, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and the weight of his newfound knowledge. Marcus turned back to the holographic display, now showing the vastness of the galaxy. Somewhere out there was Earth, blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding around it. He thought of his home, of the billions of lives depending on him, of the countless generations that had struggled and persevered, unknowingly shaped by forces beyond their comprehension. The memory key felt heavy in his hand, a tangible link to humanity's true past and, potentially, its future. Marcus knew that in a few short hours he would stand before the Galactic Senate and decide the fate of his species. But now, armed with the truth and a powerful ally, he felt a glimmer of hope. As he began to formulate his speech, weaving together the threads of humanity's hidden history with his plea for their future, Marcus realized that he was no longer just fighting for Earth's acceptance. He was fighting for a new vision of the galaxy itself, one where humanity could fulfill the potential that had been engineered into them so long ago. The artificial night cycle of the station continued, but for Marcus Chen, a new dawn was breaking. Whatever happened in the Senate chamber, the galaxy would never be the same again, and humanity, for better or worse, would finally take its place among the stars. As the station's day cycle began, Marcus found himself being escorted to a pre-session meeting room. The events of the night before had left him both exhilarated and anxious. He clutched the memory key in his pocket, acutely aware of its potential to change everything. The doors slid open to reveal a circular chamber filled with a diverse array of alien beings. Some he recognized from his earlier encounters, others were entirely new to him. The atmosphere was tense, with hushed conversations stopping abruptly as he entered. Senator Clax, the multi-limbed being who had confronted Marcus earlier, clicked its mandibles in obvious displeasure. The human dares to show his face here? This meeting is for serious diplomatic discourse, not a showcase of primitive species. Marcus took a deep breath, reminding himself of the stakes. He wheeled forward, his eyes scanning the room, noting those who seemed hostile, curious, or potentially sympathetic. Esteemed colleagues, he began, his voice steady despite his nerves. I understand my presence here is unexpected, and, for some, unwelcome. But I assure you, I come in the spirit of diplomacy and mutual understanding. A serpentine creature with iridescent scales coiled tighter, its forked tongue flicking out. Understanding? What could your kind possibly understand about galactic affairs? You've barely left your own planet. Marcus nodded, acknowledging the point. You're right. Humanity's experience with interstellar travel is limited, But our capacity for learning, for adapting to new situations, is considerable. Isn't that worth exploring? Exploring? Clack scoffed. Your species can't even resolve conflicts on your own world. How can you possibly contribute to galactic peace? This was the opening Marcus had been waiting for. He wheeled closer to the center of the room, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. It's true that Earth has seen its share of conflicts, he conceded. But from those conflicts, we've learned valuable lessons. We've developed systems of international cooperation, of conflict resolution. We've made mistakes, yes, but we've also shown an incredible capacity for progress. A being composed of swirling gases drifted forward. Pretty words, human. But actions speak louder. Your history is stained with violence and environmental destruction. Marcus felt the memory key pulse in his pocket, reminding him of the larger truth at play. But he couldn't reveal that hand just yet. You're not wrong, he said, surprising the gaseous being. Humanity has made grave mistakes. We've hurt ourselves and our planet. But consider this. Despite setbacks, despite near catastrophes, we've continued to evolve, to improve. Our technology has advanced rapidly, yes, but so has our understanding of ethics, of sustainability, of cooperation. He gestured to the diverse array of beings around him. Look at this room. Each of you represents a unique evolutionary path, a distinct way of perceiving the universe. Humanity's gift, and yes, sometimes our curse, is our adaptability. We can learn from all of you, and perhaps offer new perspectives in return. A crystalline being that Marcus recognized as Senator Zarak chimed in. The human makes an interesting point. Diversity of thought has always been the Senate's strength. Could humanity not add to that diversity? Klax's compound eyes swiveled to focus on Zarak. You would risk galactic stability for the sake of diversity? This primitive species could upset millennia of carefully maintained balance. Marcus saw his opportunity. Senator Klax, if I may, isn't that very fear an admission of the potential my species holds? You speak of balance, but could it be that the galaxy needs a careful imbalance to progress? The room fell silent, many delegates shifting uncomfortably. Marcus pressed on. Throughout Earth's history, some of our greatest advancements came from periods of upheaval. Not from destructive chaos, but from the introduction of new ideas that challenged the status quo. A holographic being flickered into view. And what of the dangers? Your weapons technology advances as quickly as your peaceful innovations. How can we trust that you won't bring war to the stars? Marcus nodded solemnly. A valid concern. But consider this. Our understanding of the consequences of war has grown alongside our capacity for waging it. We've seen the brink of global destruction and pulled back. We've learned the value of diplomacy, of finding common ground even with those we once considered enemies. He looked around the room, making eye contact with as many beings as possible. I'm not here to claim that humanity is perfect, or that we don't have much to learn. We do. But I am here to say that we're ready to be part of this larger community, ready to learn, to contribute, and yes, to be held accountable on a galactic scale. The serpentine creature uncoiled slightly. Pretty words, human. But words are easy. What guarantees can you offer? Marcus smiled, feeling more in his element than he had since arriving. Guarantees in diplomacy are rare, as I'm sure you all know, but I can offer this. Transparency. Humanity is willing to open itself to observation, to guidance. We're willing to establish protocols for our integration into the galactic community, with checks and balances agreed upon by the Senate. He wheeled to the center of the room, his voice growing stronger. More than that, we're willing to share our art, our music, our literature, the products of our imagination that have helped us envision better futures. Our scientific advancements, which might offer new solutions to old problems. And yes, even the lessons from our mistakes, so that others might avoid similar pitfalls. Klax's mandibles clicked rapidly. You speak of sharing, but what of the resources your growing population would consume? What of the territories you might claim? Marcus had anticipated this. Senator, Earth has taught us harsh lessons about resource management and sustainability. We've learned often the hard way the importance of balance. Any expansion into space would be done responsibly, in accordance with galactic law and with full consideration of other species' needs. He noticed a few delegates nodding. Their body language varied as it was suggesting they were warming to his arguments. Colleagues, Marcus continued, I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a symbol of what humanity can offer. An old man, yes, but one who has seen his world change dramatically over a lifetime. We are a young species on the galactic stage, but that youth comes with energy, with fresh perspectives, with a hunger to learn and grow. The memory key felt warm in his pocket, reminding him of the larger truths at play. But Marcus knew he couldn't reveal that hand yet. Instead, he focused on building bridges, on planting seeds of curiosity and hope in the minds of the delegates. I invite you all to see humanity not as a threat, but as an opportunity for new alliances, new exchanges of ideas, new possibilities for the entire galactic community. We stand ready to join you, to learn from you, and to work alongside you in facing the challenges that lie ahead. As he finished speaking, the room erupted in a cacophony of alien voices. Some were arguing, others seemed to be considering his words carefully. Marcus wheeled back slightly, giving them space to discuss. Senator Zarak's crystalline form shimmered as it approached him. Well spoken, Marcus Chen. You've given them much to think about. But remember, this is just the beginning. The real test will come in the main Senate chamber. Marcus nodded, acutely aware that his greatest challenge still lay ahead. But for now, he had accomplished his immediate goal. He had gotten them talking, considering possibilities, rather than dismissing humanity outright. As the delegates continued their heated discussion, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The diplomatic skills honed over a lifetime were serving him well, but he knew that words alone wouldn't be enough. Soon, he would need to use the memory key to reveal truths that would shake the very foundations of the Senate. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and Marcus Chen, the unexpected envoy, was ready to fight for his species' place among the stars. As the pre-session meeting concluded, Marcus found himself back in his quarters, the weight of his impending speech pressing down on him like a physical force. The confrontation with the hostile delegates had left him mentally drained, and the constant strain of adapting to the alien environment was taking its toll on his aged body. Marcus wheeled himself to the window, gazing out at the star-filled expanse. The vastness of space seemed to mirror the enormity of the task before him. He felt a tremor in his hands, a reminder of his physical frailty. How could he, a 92-year-old man, possibly bear the weight of humanity's future? As if in response to his doubts, a sharp pain lanced through his lower back. Marcus winced, reaching for the small medkit he'd brought from Earth. As he fumbled with the pain medication, the tremor in his hands worsened, causing him to drop the pills. Damn it, he muttered, frustration welling up inside him. He leaned down to retrieve the medication, but the movement sent another jolt of pain through his body. For a moment, he sat there, hunched over in his wheelchair, feeling every one of his 92 years. The memory key pulsed in his pocket, a reminder of the monumental task ahead. Marcus closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He thought of Earth, of the billions of lives depending on him. He couldn't falter now, not when he was so close. With a grunt of effort, he managed to retrieve the medication. As he waited for the pain to subside, Marcus turned his attention to the holographic display on his desk. It was time to finalize his speech. Hours passed as Marcus worked, crafting and refining his arguments. But as the station's artificial day cycle began to wane, he found his concentration slipping. The words on the display blurred, and his thoughts became muddled. "Computer," he called out, his voice hoarse from hours of rehearsal. "What's the current oxygen level in this room?" "Oxygen levels are optimal for human physiology, Marcus Chen," the AI responded. Marcus frowned. If it wasn't the oxygen, then why was he feeling so lightheaded? He realized with a start that he hadn't eaten since arriving on the station. The stress and excitement had completely suppressed his appetite. As if on cue, a chime sounded, and a panel in the wall slid open to reveal a tray of what he assumed was food. The assortment of colorful gels and pulsating proteins looked utterly alien and unappetizing. Marcus stared at the tray, his stomach turning. How could he focus on galactic diplomacy when he couldn't even figure out how to nourish himself? A wave of despair washed over him. He was out of his depth, a relic trying to navigate a future he could barely comprehend. Just as he was about to succumb to his doubts, another chime sounded. The door to his quarters slid open, revealing Elder Xylos, its form shimmering with concern. "Marcus Chen," Xylos said, gliding into the room. "I sensed your distress. Are you unwell?" Marcus managed a weak smile. "Just feeling my age, I'm afraid, and perhaps a bit overwhelmed." Xylos moved closer, its form rippling with what might have been sympathy. It is not uncommon for beings to struggle when first exposed to the galactic community. Your resilience so far has been remarkable. "Resilience," Marcus echoed, shaking his head. "I'm not sure how much of that I have left. Look at me, Xylos. I can barely take care of myself here, let alone represent my entire species." The alien elder was silent for a moment, its form shifting through a kaleidoscope of colors. Then, to Marcus's surprise, it began to change shape. Within seconds, Xylos had taken on a form that was eerily similar to a human elder. "Marcus," Xylos said, its voice now sounding remarkably human, "let me share something with you. In my long life, I've taken many forms, experienced many perspectives. Age, in the way your species perceives it, is not a weakness. It is a repository of wisdom, of experiences that shape the future." Marcus straightened in his wheelchair, intrigued despite his fatigue. But surely in a galaxy of advanced species, the physical limitations of age are nothing compared to the power of a mind that has seen and learned and grown, Xylos interrupted. "Your very presence here, Marcus Chen, is testament to that. You've navigated challenges that would have broken many younger beings." The elder alien gestured to the holographic display showing Marcus's speech notes. "And this is not merely words. It is the distillation of a lifetime of experiences, of understanding gained through years of diplomacy. Do not underestimate the power of that wisdom." Marcus felt something stir within him, a flicker of the confidence he'd felt during his diplomatic career. But the physical challenges, Xylos waved a hand dismissively, are temporary obstacles. Here. The alien elder touched the wall, and suddenly the room's gravity shifted, becoming more Earth-like. Another touch, and the lighting adjusted to a warm, familiar glow. "As for nourishment," Xylos continued, approaching the food tray, "allow me." The alien's hands moved over the strange assortment of foods, and before Marcus's eyes, they began to transform. Within moments, the tray held what appeared to be a bowl of soup, a piece of bread, and a glass of water. "It's still alien in origin," Xylos explained, "but reconfigured to be more palatable and nutritious for your physiology. Eat, Marcus Chen. Regain your strength. The galaxy awaits your words." As Marcus cautiously tasted the soup, finding it surprisingly delicious, Xylos moved to the holographic display. "Now, let us review your speech. Your insights are valuable, Marcus. Do not doubt that. But perhaps I can offer some context that will help you refine your arguments." For the next few hours, Marcus and Xylos worked together, fine-tuning the speech. As they worked, Marcus felt his confidence growing. The pain in his back eased, his mind sharpened, and the tremor in his hands steadied. "You see," Xylos said as they finished, once again in its shimmering alien form, "age has not diminished you, Marcus Chen. It has prepared you for this moment. Your lifetime of experiences, your understanding of conflict and resolution, your ability to see the long view, these are precisely what the Senate needs to hear." Marcus nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He glanced at the memory key, still in his pocket. "And what of this? The hidden truths it contains." Xylos's form rippled. "That, Marcus Chen, is a powerful tool. Use it wisely. The truth it contains could shake the foundations of the Senate. But remember, how you present that truth is just as important as the truth itself. As Xylos prepared to leave, Marcus called out, "Elder, thank you. I needed this reminder of my own worth." The alien elder paused at the door, its form shimmering. "You are more than worthy, Marcus Chen. You are necessary. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, and your voice may well determine which path we take. Rest now. When you stand before the Senate, stand tall. Speak not just for humanity, but for a future where wisdom and experience are valued across the stars." As the door closed behind Xylos, Marcus turned back to the window. The galaxy spread out before him, vast and full of possibilities. He no longer felt small in the face of it. Instead, he felt like a vital part of this cosmic tapestry. Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, was ready. Tomorrow, he would stand before the Galactic Senate, not as a frail old man, but as the voice of humanity, a voice tempered by age, strengthened by experience, and burning with the passion of a species ready to take its place among the stars. The memory key pulsed once more in his pocket, a reminder of the truths yet to be revealed. But now, Marcus faced the challenge not with fear, but with determination. Whatever tomorrow brought, he would face it with all the wisdom and resilience his long life had granted him. As he settled in for a few hours of rest, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. But soon, very soon, they would all bear witness to the power of one elderly human's words. As the artificial dawn broke over the space station, Marcus found himself unable to sleep any longer. The weight of the impending speech pressed heavily on his mind, despite Xylos' encouragement. Deciding that a change of scenery might help clear his thoughts, he guided his wheelchair out of his quarters and into the station's winding corridors. The station was quieter at this early hour, with only a few beings moving about. Marcus took in the alien architecture, marveling at the seamless blend of form and function. As he rounded a corner, he found himself in what appeared to be a communal garden area. The space was filled with a diverse array of plant life from across the galaxy, creating a vibrant tapestry of colors and shapes. As Marcus paused to admire a particularly striking blue-leaf tree, he heard a soft sound coming from nearby. Curious, he maneuvered his wheelchair around a large, pulsating fungus to investigate. There, huddled beneath a canopy of iridescent fronds, was a small alien child. The young being looked vaguely insectoid, with large, multifaceted eyes and delicate antennae that quivered with emotion. It was clear from the child's body language that it was distressed. Marcus's diplomatic instincts kicked in, overriding any lingering self-doubt. He approached slowly, careful not to startle the child. "Hello there," he said softly, his translator converting his words into a gentle series of clicks and whistles. "Are you all right?" The child's antennae perked up at the sound, and it turned to face Marcus. Its large eyes blinked rapidly, taking in the sight of the elderly human. You're the Earth being," the child clicked hesitantly. "The one everyone's talking about." Marcus smiled warmly. "That's right. My name is Marcus. What's yours?" "Zixtara," the child responded, its mandibles chittering nervously. I'm lost. I can't find my way back to my family's quarters." "Well, Zixtara," Marcus said, his voice gentle, "perhaps we can help each other. I'm a bit lost myself, you see, not just in the station, but in trying to figure out how to explain my people to the Senate. What do you say we work together to find our way?" Zixtara's antennae twitched with interest. "You're lost too? But you're so old. I thought grown-ups knew everything." Marcus chuckled. "Oh, if only that were true? The older I get, the more I realize how much I don't know. But that's what makes life interesting, don't you think? Always something new to learn." The child uncurled slightly, its posture becoming more relaxed. "I guess so. But it's scary sometimes, not knowing things." "It can be," Marcus agreed. "But it's also an opportunity. Tell me, Zixtara, what do you do when you encounter something you don't understand?" The young alien's antennae waved thoughtfully. Well, I ask questions, and I observe. Sometimes I try to touch or smell the new thing if it's safe. Marcus nodded encouragingly. That's excellent. You're using all your senses to learn. That's something humans do too. We're very curious creatures. Zixtara's eyes widened. Really? But I heard humans were dangerous. That you fight a lot and damage your world. Marcus felt a pang in his heart, but he saw an opportunity here. We have made mistakes, it's true. But we learn from them, just like you're learning now, by asking questions and observing. Can you tell me something you've observed about me since we started talking? The child was quiet for a moment, its antennae moving slowly as it thought. You're kind, Zixtara finally said, and patient, not scary at all, even though you look very different from me. A warm smile spread across Marcus's face. Thank you, Zixtara. You've just demonstrated one of humanity's greatest strengths, the ability to look beyond appearances and find common ground. That's something I hope to convey to the Senate. As they continued to talk, Marcus found himself explaining basic concepts about Earth and humanity in simple terms, answering Zixtara's endless stream of questions. The child's curiosity was infectious, and Marcus felt his own enthusiasm growing as he shared stories about Earth's diverse ecosystems, cultures, and achievements. You mean you have beings on your world that can change colors like a mood crystal? Zixtara asked, fascinated by Marcus's description of chameleons. We do, Marcus nodded. And fish that can light up in the dark depths of our oceans, and plants that can eat insects. Earth is full of wonders that might seem as alien to you as this station seemed to me when I first arrived. Zixtara's antennae quivered with excitement. I want to see these things. Can I visit Earth someday? The question hit Marcus like a bolt of lightning. Here was the crux of his argument, presented with childlike simplicity. I hope so, Zixtara. That's why I'm here, to try and make it possible for beings like you to visit Earth, and for humans to explore the wonders of other worlds, to learn from each other, just as you and I have been doing. As if on cue, a call echoed through the garden. Zixtara, there you are! An adult of Zixtara's species hurried towards them, relief evident in its movements. As Zixtara was reunited with its parent, Marcus felt a surge of inspiration. The conversation with the child had crystallized something in his mind, a way to present humanity that went beyond dry facts and political maneuvering. Thanking Zixtara and its parent, Marcus quickly made his way back to his quarters. He had work to do before his speech. As he rewrote sections of his address, Marcus wove in the essence of his encounter with Zixtara. He spoke of humanity's childlike curiosity, our capacity for wonder, and our eagerness to learn. He acknowledged our mistakes, but framed them as part of a growth process, much like a child learning to navigate a complex world. The memory key pulsed in his pocket, reminding him of the deeper truths he had yet to reveal. But now, Marcus saw how to bridge the gap between those ancient secrets and humanity's potential future. As he finished his revisions, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just arguing for humanity's acceptance into the galactic community. He was advocating for a future of shared discovery, of mutual learning and growth. The encounter with Zixtara had given him more than just an insight, it had given him hope. Hope that the innate curiosity and openness of a child could be found in beings across the galaxy. Hope that humanity's eagerness to explore and understand could be seen as an asset rather than a threat. As the time for his address to the Senate drew near, Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, felt ready. He would speak not just with the wisdom of his years, but with the wonder of a child seeing the universe with fresh eyes. He would invite the Senate to see humanity not as a problem to be solved, but as fellow explorers on the grand journey of cosmic discovery. The memory key in his pocket held truths that could shake the foundations of the Senate. But it was the simple truth he had learned in a quiet garden, from an alien child far from home, that Marcus knew would form the heart of his argument. With a deep breath, Marcus prepared himself for what lay ahead. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but now he had a new perspective from which to view that monumental responsibility. As he left his quarters, ready to face the Senate, Marcus carried with him not just the weight of Earth's future, but the boundless potential of human curiosity and compassion. The galaxy was about to hear a speech unlike any other one that bridged the wisdom of age with the wonder of youth, and offered a vision of a future where humanity's place among the stars was not just accepted, but celebrated. The grand doors of the Galactic Senate chamber loomed before Marcus, their intricate patterns seeming to swirl and shift as he approached. The low hum of thousands of alien voices filtered through, a reminder of the monumental task that lay ahead. As an aide began to wheel him towards the entrance, Marcus felt a sudden, overwhelming wave of doubt crash over him. What if he had misread everything? What if his encounter with Zixtara had led him astray, causing him to craft a speech that was too naive, too simplistic for this august body? The memory key felt heavy in his pocket, a constant reminder of the deeper, darker truths he carried. Should he abandon his revised approach and rely solely on the revelations contained within the device? Marcus's hands began to tremble, and he felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. The enormity of the moment threatened to crush him. He was just one man, old and frail, facing a galaxy of diverse and advanced civilizations. How could he possibly hope to sway them? As the doors began to part, Marcus's breath caught in his throat. For a moment, he considered calling it off, asking to be taken back to his quarters. Surely someone else could be found to represent Earth, someone younger, more vigorous, more. "Mr. Chen?" The aide's voice cut through his spiral of doubt. "It's time, sir." Marcus looked up, meeting the aide's eyes, all four of them. The alien being gazed at him with what seemed to be a mixture of curiosity and encouragement. In that moment, Marcus was reminded of Zixtara's wide-eyed wonder, of Elder Xylos's faith in him, of the billions back on Earth counting on him. Taking a deep breath, Marcus straightened in his wheelchair. "Yes," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I'm ready." As they moved forward, Marcus closed his eyes for a brief moment, centering himself. He thought of the long journey that had brought him here, not just the interstellar trip, but the decades of diplomatic service, the lifetime of experiences that had shaped him. He was Marcus Chen, and he carried with him the hopes and dreams of humanity. The Senate chamber was vast, far larger than Marcus had imagined. Tiers upon tiers of seats rose up around a central speaking platform, each filled with beings of every conceivable shape and size. The cacophony of voices, translated through his earpiece, was overwhelming at first. As Marcus was wheeled towards the central platform, he caught snippets of conversations. "The human representative. Can't believe they're allowing this. Heard he's ancient by their standards." Marcus felt the weight of countless eyes upon him, some curious, others hostile, many simply indifferent. The doubt threatened to creep back in, but he pushed it aside. He was here now, and he would make his voice heard. As his wheelchair was locked into place on the speaking platform, Marcus took a moment to survey the chamber. He spotted Senator Clack's mandibles clicking rapidly in what seemed to be agitation. Nearby, the crystalline form of Senator Zarek shimmered with what Marcus hoped was encouragement. And there, in the highest tier, the shimmering presence of Elder Xylos watched over the proceedings. A hush fell over the chamber as the Senate chair being, a towering insectoid creature, stepped forward. "Esteemed colleagues," it began, its voice amplified throughout the vast space. "We are gathered here to hear the petition of the species known as humans, represented by Marcus Chen of Earth. Mr. Chen, you may begin." This was it. The moment that would determine the fate of humanity. Marcus felt the memory key pulse in his pocket, a reminder of the power he held. But as he looked out at the sea of alien faces, he knew that raw information alone wouldn't be enough. He needed to connect, to make them understand. Marcus leaned forward slightly, his voice clear and strong as he began. "Honored members of the Galactic Senate, I come before you today not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for a species that stands at a crossroads. Humanity is young in galactic terms, our journey among the stars only just beginning. But in that youth lies our greatest strength, our boundless curiosity, our drive to explore and understand. He paused, letting his words sink in. Some beings leaned forward, intrigued, while others remained impassive. I know there are those among you who see humanity as a threat, Marcus continued. Our history is not without its dark chapters. We have fought wars, damaged our planet, and at times let our fear overwhelm our reason. But I ask you to look beyond these surface facts, to see the full tapestry of human experience. Marcus thought of Zixtara, of the child's wide-eyed wonder at the description of Earth. We are a species of dreamers and inventors, of artists and scientists. We look at the stars not with fear, but with hope and wonder. Our literature imagines countless alien worlds. Our music seeks to capture the harmony of the spheres. Even now, as I speak, millions of humans are gazing up at the night sky, yearning to know what and who is out there. He could see he had their attention now. Even some of the more hostile delegates seemed to be listening intently. But more than that, Marcus said, his voice growing passionate. We are a species that learns. Yes, we have made mistakes, but from each one, we have grown. Our history is a testament to our ability to overcome divisions, to reach across boundaries of race, culture, and ideology. We have faced existential threats and emerged stronger, more united. The memory key felt warm in his pocket, and Marcus knew it was time. Honored delegates, I carry with me a device that contains truths about humanity's past, truths that have been hidden even from us. I could activate this device now, flood this chamber with information that would shock and astound you. But that is not why I'm here. A murmur ran through the crowd. Marcus saw Elder Xylos lean forward, its form shimmering with what might have been approval. Instead, Marcus continued, I offer you something far more valuable, an invitation to get to know humanity, not through cold data or ancient secrets, but through genuine interaction. I invite you to visit Earth, to walk our forests, to sail our seas, to stand in awe before our great works of art and engineering. And in return, we ask for the chance to explore your worlds, to learn from your wisdom, to add our voice to the great chorus of galactic civilization. Marcus's voice grew softer, but no less intense. I am old by human standards, nearing the end of my journey. But as I look out at this august body, I am filled with hope for the journey that humanity is just beginning. We stand ready to join you, to learn from you, and yes, to teach you. For in our brief time among the stars, we have already learned perhaps the most important lesson of all, that we are stronger together than we ever could be apart. As Marcus concluded his speech, the Senate chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices. Some were shouting objections, others were calling for immediate action. But many, Marcus noted with a surge of hope, seemed to be genuinely considering his words. The memory key pulsed once more in his pocket, a reminder of the truths yet unrevealed. But Marcus knew that the real truth, the one that mattered most, was the one he had just shared, the truth of humanity's potential, of our capacity for growth, wonder, and connection. As the Senate chair being called for order, Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, sat tall in his wheelchair. Whatever came next, he had spoken from his heart, bridging the wisdom of his years with the hope and curiosity that defined humanity at its best. The fate of Earth now rested in the hands of the Galactic Senate. But Marcus had done what he came to do. He had made them listen, made them consider, and perhaps, just perhaps, made them believe in the promise of humanity among the stars. As the initial commotion from Marcus's speech began to settle, the Senate chair being raised its appendages for silence. We will now open the floor for questions and statements from the esteemed delegates, it announced, its multifaceted eyes scanning the chamber. Marcus braced himself, knowing that the real challenge was about to begin. He watched as Senator Clax's massive form rose, mandibles clicking ominously. Pretty words, human, Clax rumbled, but they do not erase the violence in your history. How can we trust a species that has brought itself to the brink of destruction multiple times? Before Marcus could respond, another delegate, a being composed of swirling gases, interjected. And what of your resource consumption? Your planet is already strained. How can the galaxy bear the burden of your expanding population? Marcus felt the weight of their accusations, but also sensed an opportunity. He took a deep breath, his hand instinctively moving to the memory key in his pocket. It was time to take a risk. "Esteemed delegates," Marcus began, his voice cutting through the murmurs, "I thank you for your candid concerns. They are valid, and in the spirit of the openness I advocated for in my speech, I feel compelled to share a truth that may shock this assembly." The chamber fell silent, all attention focused on the elderly human in the wheelchair. Marcus's voice was steady as he delivered his bombshell. Humanity's violent history and rapid advancement are not entirely of our own making. We have been manipulated, guided, and at times, deliberately set back by forces beyond our world, including some represented in this very chamber. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Delegates leapt to their feet or equivalent appendages, voices raised in outrage, denial, and confusion. Marcus saw Elder Xylos's form flicker rapidly, while Senator Zarak's crystalline structure seemed to vibrate with tension. "Order! Order in the Senate!" The chairbeing's voice boomed over the cacophony, but it took several moments for the uproar to subside. Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "The device I mentioned earlier, this memory key, contains irrefutable evidence of extraterrestrial intervention in human affairs throughout our history. Our wars, our technological leaps, even some of our mythologies, all have been influenced by species far more advanced than our own." He paused, letting the gravity of his words sink in. "But I do not say this to cast blame or to abdicate responsibility for our actions. Rather, I say this to highlight a crucial point. Despite these manipulations, despite being pawns in a game we didn't even know we were playing, humanity has persevered. We have continued to grow, to learn, to strive for better." The Senate chamber was a mix of shocked silence and hushed, urgent conversations. Marcus saw some delegates conferring frantically with their aides, while others stared at him with a mix of anger and fear. "You dare to accuse us," Senator Klax began, but Marcus cut him off, his voice firm. "I accuse no one specifically, Senator. The full truth of which species were involved and to what extent is contained within this key. But that is not the point. The point is that humanity, despite being treated as an experiment, a potential threat to be controlled, or a resource to be exploited, has shown remarkable resilience and potential." Marcus's eyes swept the chamber, making contact with as many delegates as he could. "Think about it. A species, kept in the dark about its true place in the galaxy, manipulated and held back, has still managed to achieve what we have. Imagine what we could accomplish as true partners in galactic civilization, with full knowledge and cooperation." Elder Xylos floated down from the higher tiers, its form shimmering with what might have been agitation or excitement. "Marcus Chen, do you understand the magnitude of what you're claiming? The potential consequences of revealing such information?" Marcus nodded solemnly. "I do, Elder. But I also understand the consequences of continuing this charade. How can we build trust? How can we move forward together if we're not honest about our shared past?" He addressed the entire Senate again. "I came here prepared to advocate for humanity's inclusion in galactic affairs. But now I see that's not enough. What I'm advocating for is a new era of transparency and cooperation, not just for humanity, but for all species represented here." Marcus held up the memory key, its surface glowing faintly. "This device doesn't just contain Earth's hidden history. It contains the truth about how many of your own civilizations have been shaped by the same forces that influenced us. We have all been pieces on a cosmic chessboard. Isn't it time we stood up and became players in our own right?" The Senate chamber was a storm of emotions and reactions. Some delegates were calling for immediate access to the memory key's data. Others were demanding Marcus be removed from the chamber. Through it all, Marcus sat calmly in his wheelchair, the eye of the hurricane he had unleashed. Senator Zarak's crystalline form caught the light as it moved towards the central platform. "Colleagues, please," its chiming voice cut through the noise. "Before we act rashly, consider the opportunity before us. If what Marcus Chen says is true, and I believe we must at least consider the possibility, then we have a chance to reshape galactic politics as we know it. The chair being, who had been conferring urgently with a group of aides, stepped forward. This session will recess for one standard galactic hour. Security, please escort Mr. Chen to a holding area. The High Council will convene to discuss how to proceed. As a pair of guards approached his wheelchair, Marcus held up a hand. Before I'm taken away, I have one last thing to say. He looked out at the sea of alien faces, some angry, some fearful, some intrigued. Whatever you decide, know this: humanity is ready to face the truth, no matter how difficult. We are ready to take responsibility for our actions, to learn from our mistakes, and to work alongside you all for a better future. The question is, are you ready to do the same? With that, Marcus allowed himself to be wheeled out of the chamber, leaving behind a Senate in turmoil. As the doors closed behind him, he caught a glimpse of Elder Xylos and Senator Zarak deep in urgent conversation, their forms blending in a shimmer of light and crystal. Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, had done more than deliver a speech. He had lit a fuse that threatened to reshape the very foundations of galactic society. As he was escorted to a holding area, he felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Whatever came next, he knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The memory key sat heavy in his pocket, a repository of truths that could uplift or destroy. Marcus closed his eyes, sending a silent hope to the stars that he had made the right choice. The fate of not just humanity, but perhaps all sentient life in the galaxy, now hung in the balance. As the initial commotion from Marcus's speech began to settle, the Senate chair being raised its appendages for silence. We will now open the floor for questions and statements from the esteemed delegates, it announced, its multifaceted eyes scanning the chamber. Senator Clax's massive form rose, mandibles clicking ominously. Pretty words, human, but they do not erase the violence in your history. How can we trust a species that has brought itself to the brink of destruction multiple times? Marcus nodded, acknowledging the concern. Senator Clax, you're right to be wary. Humanity's history is indeed marked by conflict. But it's precisely because of these conflicts that we've learned valuable lessons about peace and cooperation. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Consider this. In the span of a single human lifetime, we've gone from devastating world wars to creating global institutions for peace. We've learned that our differences, which once divided us, can be our greatest strength when we work together. A being composed of swirling gases interjected. And what of your resource consumption? Your planet is already strained. How can the galaxy bear the burden of your expanding population? Marcus smiled, recognizing the opportunity to challenge another preconception. An excellent point. It's true that we've struggled with resource management. But this very struggle has driven us to innovate. In recent decades, we've made remarkable strides in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and environmental restoration. He leaned forward, his voice growing passionate. Moreover, our experiences on Earth have given us a unique perspective on the preciousness of habitable worlds. We understand, perhaps better than most, the delicate balance required to maintain a planet's ecosystem. This knowledge, born from our mistakes and our efforts to correct them, could be invaluable as the galaxy faces its own environmental challenges. A crystalline being chimed in, its voice resonating through the chamber. You speak of learning and growth, but your species is barely out of its infancy in galactic terms. What could you possibly teach us? Marcus's eyes twinkled. But in our infancy, as you put it, we've accomplished remarkable things. In less than a century, we went from our first powered flight to landing on our moon. Our rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. He gestured broadly, encompassing the entire Senate. But more than that, our youth gives us a fresh perspective. We see possibilities where others might see only established facts. Our literature, our art, our scientific theories, they all challenge the status quo, imagine new realities. This capacity for innovation, for thinking outside the box as we say, could be our greatest contribution to galactic civilization. A serpentine creature uncoiled itself, its forked tongue flicking out. And what are the dangers you pose? Your weapons technology advances as quickly as your peaceful innovations. Marcus nodded solemnly. You're right to be concerned. Our capacity for destruction has grown alongside our capacity for creation. But so has our understanding of the consequences of that destruction. We've stood on the brink of global annihilation and pulled back. We've learned the hard way that the true measure of strength is not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to choose peace. He paused, letting his words sink in. Moreover, our history of conflict has given us unique insights into conflict resolution. We've developed sophisticated systems of international law, peacekeeping operations, and diplomatic protocols. These tools, refined through centuries of trial and error, could be adapted to help maintain peace on a galactic scale. Elder Xylos's shimmering form moved closer to the central platform. Marcus Chen, you paint an intriguing picture of humanity. But how can we be sure that your species, if given the chance, won't simply repeat the mistakes of your past on a galactic scale? Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the memory key in his pocket. Elder Xylos, you raise a crucial point. The truth is, we can't be certain. No species can. But what we can offer is our commitment to learning, to growing, to striving always to be better than we were yesterday. He gestured to the diverse assembly before him. Look around this chamber. Each of you represents a unique evolutionary path, a distinct way of perceiving the universe. Humanity's gift, and yes, sometimes our curse, is our adaptability. We can learn from all of you, integrate new ideas, and perhaps offer fresh perspectives in return. Marcus's voice grew softer, but no less intense. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we're eager to be part of the conversation, to contribute our unique experiences and viewpoints to the rich tapestry of galactic civilization. He straightened in his wheelchair, his eyes scanning the chamber. Yes, we've made mistakes. Yes, we've nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. But each time, we've pulled back from the brink, learned from our errors, and emerged stronger. This resilience, this capacity for self-reflection and growth, is what we offer to the galaxy. The Senate chamber was abuzz with murmurs and discussions. Marcus could see that his words had struck a chord with many delegates, challenging their preconceptions about humanity. In conclusion, Marcus said, his voice ringing clear through the chamber, I ask you to consider humanity not as a threat to be contained, but as a potential ally in facing the challenges that lie ahead. Our unique history, our rapid advancement, our fresh perspective, these could be valuable assets to the galactic community. He smiled, a twinkle in his eye. And who knows, perhaps in our youthful enthusiasm, we might even remind some of you of the wonder and excitement that comes with exploring the unknown. After all, isn't that spirit of discovery what brought us all to the stars in the first place? As Marcus finished speaking, the Senate erupted into a flurry of discussions. Some delegates were nodding thoughtfully, others were engaged in heated debates with their neighbors. The chair being called for order, but the excitement in the chamber was palpable. Marcus sat back in his wheelchair, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had done it, he had challenged the Senate's preconceptions, used Earth's history to highlight humanity's potential, and opened the door to a new understanding between species. The memory key pulsed once more in his pocket, a reminder that there were still truths to be revealed. But for now, Marcus had accomplished what he set out to do. He had made the Senate listen, made them consider, and perhaps, just perhaps, made them believe in the promise of humanity among the stars. As the debates continued around him, Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, allowed himself a small smile. Whatever came next, he had spoken for humanity with all the wisdom, passion, and hope he could muster. The fate of Earth now rested in the hands of the Galactic Senate, but Marcus had given them plenty to think about. As the initial commotion from Marcus's speech began to settle, the Senate chair being raised its appendages for silence. We will now open the floor for questions and statements from the esteemed delegates, it announced, its multifaceted eyes scanning the chamber. Senator Klax's massive form rose, mandibles clicking ominously. Pretty words, human, but they do not erase the violence in your history. How can we trust a species that has brought itself to the brink of destruction multiple times? Before Marcus could respond, an unexpected voice cut through the tension. If I may, honored colleagues. All eyes turned to a small, previously unnoticed delegate. Its body was a swirling mass of bioluminescent particles, constantly shifting and reforming. I am Ambassador Lux of the Lumina Collective, it introduced itself, its voice a melodious hum. We have observed humanity for centuries, and while Senator Clax's concerns are valid, they are not the whole story. Marcus felt a surge of hope. He hadn't known the Lumina were present, let alone that they had been watching Earth. Lux continued, its body pulsing with each word. Humanity's capacity for violence is matched only by its capacity for compassion. We have witnessed countless acts of selflessness, of individuals risking everything to help strangers. This duality makes them unique and, potentially, invaluable to our galactic community. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Marcus saw Elder Xylos lean forward, its form shimmering with interest. Emboldened by this unexpected support, Marcus spoke up. Ambassador Lux is right. Our history is complex, filled with darkness and light. But it's our ability to learn from our mistakes, to strive for better, that defines us. Suddenly, the crystalline form of Senator Zarak chimed in. I concur with the human. My species once teetered on the brink of self-destruction, much like humanity. But we pulled back, and now we are valued members of this Senate. Should we not offer the same opportunity to Earth? The chamber erupted in debate. Marcus could see his words, amplified by these unexpected allies, were having an effect. But not everyone was convinced. A gaseous being floated forward, its voice a hissing whisper. You speak of potential, but what of the danger? Humanity's weapons advance as quickly as their peaceful innovations. How can we be sure they won't bring war to the stars? Marcus was about to respond when another surprise ally emerged. A towering, tree-like being with crystalline leaves that chimed softly as it moved, addressed the chamber. I am Arboros of the Sylvan Conclave, it rumbled, its voice like wind through ancient branches. We have studied Earth's biosphere extensively. While it's true that humans have damaged their world, they have also shown remarkable dedication to preserving and restoring it. Their environmental movements, their rewilding projects, their advances in sustainable technology all speak to a species learning to live in harmony with their world. Marcus felt a swell of pride. He hadn't known Earth's conservation efforts had been noticed on a galactic scale. Arboros continued. Moreover, their art, their music, their literature all show a deep appreciation for the natural world. This connection to their planet, this ability to find wonder in the simplest leaf or the grandest mountain, is something our galaxy sorely needs. The memory key pulsed in Marcus's pocket, reminding him of the deeper truths he carried. He realized now was the time to use it, but not in the way he had originally planned. Honored delegates, Marcus said, his voice cutting through the debate. I hold here a device containing hidden truths about Earth's history. But I realize now that these secrets are not mine alone to reveal. He held up the memory key, its surface glowing faintly. This key contains information that will shock many of you. It speaks of interventions in Earth's development, of manipulations by older races, of humanity being used as pawns in a cosmic game. The chamber fell silent, all eyes fixed on the glowing device. But I will not activate it unilaterally, Marcus continued. Instead, I propose this. Let a committee be formed, with representatives from all interested parties. Let us examine these truths together, in a spirit of openness and cooperation that we hope will define humanity's relationship with the galactic community. Elder Xylos floated down from the higher tiers, its form shimmering with what might have been excitement. And bold proposal, Marcus Chen, and a wise one. It shows a commitment to transparency and collaboration that speaks well of your species. The Senate chair being's mandibles clicked rapidly as it considered. This is unprecedented, but these are unprecedented times. All in favor of forming a committee to examine the human's evidence. To Marcus's amazement and relief, a majority of appendages, tentacles, and other alien limbs were raised in ascent. As the chamber buzzed with excitement and apprehension, Marcus felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He had done it. He had opened the door for humanity's acceptance into the galactic community. But as he looked around at the diverse array of beings, some supportive, others still wary, he realized this was just the beginning. The real work of building trust, of proving humanity's worth, was yet to come. The memory key felt heavy in his hand, a reminder of the challenges ahead. But as Marcus met the eyes or equivalent sensory organs of his new allies, the shimmering Lux, the crystalline Xerox, the towering Arboros, he felt a surge of hope. Whatever truths the memory key held, whatever obstacles lay ahead, humanity would not face them alone. They had taken their first steps into a larger universe, and found not just challenges, but unexpected friends. As the Senate moved to formalize the committee, Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, allowed himself a small smile. He had come seeking acceptance for humanity, but had found something far greater, the beginnings of true galactic cooperation. The fate of Earth was still uncertain, but for the first time since he'd embarked on this journey, Marcus felt truly optimistic about the future. Humanity's voice had been heard, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the initial commotion from Marcus's speech began to settle, the Senate chair being raised its appendages for silence. "We will now open the floor for questions and statements from the esteemed delegates," it announced, its multifaceted eyes scanning the chamber. Senator Clax's massive form rose, mandibles clicking ominously. "Pretty words, human, but they do not erase the violence in your history. How can we trust a species that has brought itself to the brink of destruction multiple times?" Marcus nodded, acknowledging the concern. But as he opened his mouth to respond, he felt the memory key pulse urgently in his pocket. In that moment, he made a decision that would change everything. "Esteemed delegates," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the gravity of what he was about to reveal. "I thank you for your candid concerns. They are valid, and in the spirit of the openness I advocated for in my speech, I feel compelled to share a truth that will shock this assembly." The chamber fell silent, all attention focused on the elderly human in the wheelchair. Marcus's hand trembled slightly as he withdrew the memory key. "This device contains irrefutable evidence of a truth that has been hidden from humanity, and, I suspect, from many of you as well. Our violent history, our rapid advancement, even our very existence in our current form, none of it is entirely of our own making." A murmur of confusion rippled through the chamber. Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger. "Humanity has been the subject of a grand experiment, orchestrated by some of the oldest and most advanced species in this very Senate." The reaction was explosive. Delegates leapt to their feet or equivalent appendages, voices raised in outrage, denial, and confusion. Marcus saw Elder Xylos's form flicker rapidly, while Senator Zarak's crystalline structure seemed to vibrate with tension. "Order! Order in the Senate!" The chairbeing's voice boomed over the cacophony, but it took several moments for the uproar to subside. Marcus pressed on, knowing he had to finish what he'd started. "This key contains records of deliberate interventions in Earth's history, wars instigated, technologies introduced or suppressed. Even our genetic code altered, all to shape us into what we are today. We were created to be a counterbalance, a new force in a galaxy dominated by ancient powers." The Senate chamber was a storm of emotions and reactions. Some delegates were calling for immediate access to the memory key's data. Others were demanding Marcus be removed from the chamber. Through it all, Marcus sat calmly in his wheelchair, the eye of the hurricane he had unleashed. "But here's the crucial point," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Despite being pawns in this cosmic game, humanity has consistently defied expectations. We've overcome obstacles meant to destroy us, found unity where we were meant to be divided, and reached for the stars even when forces tried to hold us back. Our potential, our resilience, our capacity for growth, these are not just pretty words. They are the unintended consequences of your experiment, Proof that even in the face of manipulation, the human spirit cannot be controlled or predicted. A hush fell over the chamber as the implications of Marcus's words sank in. He looked out at the sea of alien faces, seeing shock, guilt, and in some cases, a dawning respect. "I do not share this to cast blame," Marcus continued, his voice softening. "Rather, I offer it as proof of what humanity can bring to this galactic community. We are living proof that even the best-laid plans of the most advanced civilizations can lead to unexpected and wonderful outcomes. Imagine what we could accomplish together, not as experimenters and subjects, but as true partners." The memory key glowed in Marcus's hand, its light seeming to fill the entire chamber. "The full truth is here, available for all to see. I propose we form a committee, with representatives from all interested parties, to examine this data together. Let us use this revelation not as a source of division, but as an opportunity for unprecedented cooperation and understanding." As Marcus finished speaking, the Senate chamber was enveloped in a silence so profound it seemed to have physical weight. The revelation had shaken the very foundations of galactic politics, challenging everything the Senate thought they knew about humanity and their own history. Elder Xylos was the first to break the silence, its shimmering form descending to the central platform. "Marcus Chen of Earth," it said, its voice resonating with what might have been awe. "You have shown wisdom and courage beyond measure. Your willingness to share this truth, to offer cooperation in the face of manipulation, speaks volumes about humanity's potential." The chair being, who had been conferring urgently with a group of aides, stepped forward. This changes everything. We will need time to process this information and decide how to proceed. This session will recess for one standard galactic cycle. Security, please escort Mr. Chen to a secure location. The High Council will convene immediately to discuss these revelations. As Marcus was wheeled away from the platform, he caught glimpses of the delegates' faces. Some were still in shock, others were engaged in heated debates with their neighbors. But in many eyes, he saw something he hadn't seen before: respect, and perhaps even a glimmer of hope. Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, had done more than deliver a speech. He had shattered millennia of secrets and lies, and in doing so, had opened the door to a new era of galactic relations. As he left the chamber, he felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Whatever came next, he knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The memory key sat heavy in his hand, its task finally fulfilled. Marcus closed his eyes, sending a silent hope to the stars that he had made the right choice. The fate of not just humanity, but perhaps all sentient life in the galaxy, now hung in the balance, and for better or worse, it was Marcus Chen, the unexpected envoy, who had set this new course for the future. As the initial shock of Marcus's speech began to subside, the Galactic Senate erupted into a frenzy of activity. The chamber, once filled with a cacophony of alien voices, now buzzed with an electric tension. Marcus sat in his wheelchair at the center of it all, his heart pounding, the memory key a heavy weight in his pocket. Suddenly, a piercing screech cut through the din. All eyes turned to Senator Clax, whose massive insectoid form was now looming over the central platform. "This human speaks of peace and cooperation, but he carries a weapon of truth that could destabilize everything we've built." Clax's mandibles clicked furiously. "I move for the immediate confiscation of this memory key and the quarantine of Earth until we can verify these outrageous claims." A roar of approval rose from one section of the chamber, but it was quickly met with shouts of protest from another. Marcus gripped the arms of his wheelchair, his knuckles white. He had known his words would be controversial, but he hadn't anticipated such an immediate and hostile reaction. Before Marcus could respond, a shimmering form materialized beside him. Elder Xylos, its body a swirling mass of light and color, addressed the Senate. "Colleagues, let us not act in haste. The human has offered us not just information, but a choice. A choice to face our shared history with courage and openness." As Xylos spoke, Marcus noticed movement in the upper tiers of the chamber. Delegates were clustering together, forming impromptu alliances. He could see heated debates breaking out, with some gesturing angrily towards him, while others seemed to be arguing for restraint. Suddenly, a new voice rang out, clear and melodious. "I have a proposal." All eyes turned to a being that seemed to be made of living crystal, its faceted body refracting the chamber's light in dazzling patterns. Marcus recognized it as Ambassador Lux of the Lumina Collective. "We have among us a unique opportunity," Lux continued, its voice resonating through the chamber. "Instead of reacting with fear, let us approach this with a spirit of scientific inquiry that has driven our civilizations forward. I propose we form a special committee composed of representatives from all major galactic factions to work directly with Marcus Chen and examine the contents of the memory key in a controlled, transparent manner." A murmur of interest rippled through the Senate. Marcus felt a glimmer of hope. This was unexpected, but it could be the lifeline he and humanity needed. However, the moment of possibility was shattered by a thunderous voice from the highest tier. "Absolutely not," boomed a being that seemed to be composed entirely of swirling dark energy. "The Void Consortium will not stand for this. If these secrets are as dangerous as the human claims, they must be destroyed, not studied." The chamber descended into chaos once more. Marcus watched in growing alarm as alliances formed and fractured in real time. He could see the chair being conferring urgently with a group of aides, clearly struggling to maintain order. In the midst of the tumult, Marcus felt a gentle touch on his shoulder. He turned to see Senator Zarak, the crystalline being who had shown him kindness earlier. "Marcus," Zarak chimed softly, "you've set in motion events that cannot be undone, but there may yet be a way to guide them. Are you prepared for what comes next?" Before Marcus could respond, a deafening explosion rocked the chamber. Alarms blared as smoke billowed from one of the upper tiers. Through the chaos, Marcus caught a glimpse of dark, shadowy figures moving with inhuman speed. "Protect the human," Elder Xylos's voice cut through the panic. "The memory key must not fall into the wrong hands." Marcus felt himself being lifted from his wheelchair by Zarak's surprisingly strong crystalline arms. As they rushed towards an exit, he saw other delegates engaged in what looked like combat, energy weapons flashing in the smoke-filled air. "What's happening?" Marcus shouted over the din. "Your speech has done more than just stir debate," Zarak replied, its voice tight with tension. "You've exposed fault lines that have existed in the Senate for millennia. Some factions would rather see the galaxy burn than have their secrets revealed." As they reached a narrow corridor, Marcus heard heavy footsteps behind them. He turned to see a group of beings that seemed to be made of living shadow, their eyes glowing with malevolent red light. "Give us the memory key, human," one of them hissed, its voice like grinding stone. "The truth dies here." Marcus clutched the device tightly, his mind racing. Everything was happening so fast. His simple hope of pleading humanity's case had somehow sparked what looked like the beginnings of a galactic civil war. Suddenly, a brilliant light filled the corridor. Ambassador Lux appeared, its crystalline body glowing with intense energy. "Go," it shouted to Marcus and Zarak. "Get to the secure levels. We'll hold them off." As Zarak carried him deeper into the bowels of the Senate station, Marcus's mind whirled with the implications of what was unfolding. He had come here to secure humanity's place among the stars, but now he found himself at the center of a conflict that threatened to tear the galaxy apart. The memory key pulsed in his hand, seeming to grow warmer with each passing second. Marcus realized that the device was more than just a repository of hidden truths. It was a key in the truest sense, unlocking age-old secrets and long-buried conflicts. As they reached a heavily fortified door, Zarak set Marcus down gently. "Whatever happens next," the crystalline being said, its voice solemn, "know that you've done something remarkable. You've given the galaxy a chance to confront its past and shape a new future." The door slid open, revealing a room filled with advanced technology and beings from species Marcus had never seen before. As he was ushered inside, he heard the sounds of battle growing closer. Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, found himself at the eye of a galactic storm. He had come seeking acceptance for humanity, but had instead uncovered truths that threatened to reshape the very foundations of interstellar civilization. As the secure door sealed behind him, Marcus knew that his journey and humanity's journey to the stars was far from over. In fact, it had only just begun. As Marcus Chen's impassioned words echoed through the vast chambers of the Galactic Senate, their impact was already rippling across the cosmos. On Earth, and in its fledgling space colonies, the revelation of alien life and humanity's potential place in the galactic community sent shockwaves through every level of society. In New Beijing, Dr. Lai Wei, a brilliant young astrophysicist, watched the broadcast of Marcus's speech with tears in her eyes. Her hands trembled as she reached for her calm device, frantically calling her colleagues at observatories around the world. Within hours, every telescope on Earth was trained on the stars with newfound purpose, searching for signs of the civilizations they now knew existed. Meanwhile, on the Mars colony, Governor Aisha Patel called an emergency meeting of her staff. The atmosphere in the cramped command center was electric with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "We're the front line now," Patel declared, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "How we handle first contact could determine humanity's future in the stars." As if in response to her words, the colony's long-range sensors began blaring an alert. A ship of unknown origin was approaching Mars at incredible speed. Hearts raced as the colonists prepared for their first direct alien encounter. Back on Earth, the reaction was a chaotic blend of wonder, fear, and everything in between. Social media exploded with hashtags like #WeAreNotAlone and #HumanityUnited trending globally. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing statements that ranged from cautious optimism to thinly veiled xenophobia. In orbit around Jupiter, the Deep Space Research Station Galileo became an unexpected focal point of interstellar diplomacy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the station's lead xenobiologist, found herself inundated with transmissions from passing alien ships. Some were curious, others wary, but all were eager to learn more about the species that had suddenly captured the galaxy's attention. "It's overwhelming," Dr. Rodriguez reported in a tense video call with unofficials. "We're receiving more data about alien biology in a day than we've gathered in decades of research, but there's something else." She hesitated, her expression grave. "Some of these species, they're not just curious, they're scared. Of us." As she spoke, an alert blared in the background. Dr. Rodriguez's eyes widened as she read the incoming data. "Oh my God," she breathed. "We're detecting a massive energy signature. Something big is coming. Something." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Earth's leaders staring at static-filled screens, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. In the Galactic Senate, Marcus found himself at the center of a diplomatic whirlwind. Delegates from various factions approached him, some offering congratulations, others thinly veiled threats. As he navigated this treacherous political landscape, he couldn't shake the feeling that his speech had set in motion events far beyond his control. Just then, a commotion near the chamber's entrance caught his attention. A group of beings, unlike any Marcus had seen before, were making their way towards him. Their bodies seemed to shift and change, defying easy classification. Marcus Chen of Earth, the leader of the group, spoke, its voice resonating oddly in Marcus's mind rather than his ears. "We are the architects. Your words have awakened ancient protocols. The trial of humanity has begun." As the Senate chamber erupted into chaos once more, Marcus realized that his speech hadn't just opened the door for humanity's acceptance into the galactic community. It had triggered something far more profound and potentially dangerous. On Earth, the first signs of this cosmic shift were already manifesting. In the skies above major cities, strange phenomena began to appear. Shimmering auroras danced in impossible colors, while geometric shapes of pure energy formed and dissolved in the upper atmosphere. In the Sahara Desert, an ancient structure long buried beneath the sands suddenly activated, its purpose unknown but its power undeniable. Similar occurrences were reported across the globe, from the depths of the Mariana Trench to the icy waste of Antarctica. As humanity grappled with these otherworldly events, tensions rose. Some saw the phenomena as proof of benevolent alien interest, while others feared them as harbingers of invasion or judgment. In orbit, the International Space Station reported visual contact with an enormous object emerging from what appeared to be a tear in the fabric of space itself. Commander Yuki Tanaka's voice crackled over the emergency channel, a mix of awe and terror in her words. "Mission Control, are you seeing this? It's like nothing we've ever encountered. The object is changing shape, adapting. Wait, it's projecting some kind of message. It says, 'Humanity, your time of isolation is over. Prepare to be evaluated.'" As the message was relayed to Earth, a sense of both excitement and dread swept across the planet. Humanity stood on the precipice of a new era, one filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination. In the Galactic Senate, Marcus Chen found himself facing the architects, beings of unimaginable power and knowledge. He realized that his simple goal of securing humanity's place among the stars had unleashed forces beyond his comprehension. "What do you mean by trial?" Marcus asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The lead architect's form shimmered, its voice echoing in Marcus's mind. "Every species must prove its worth to join the galactic community. But humanity's case is unique. Your potential for both creation and destruction is unparalleled. The trial will determine not just your fate, but the fate of the galaxy itself." As Marcus absorbed these words, he felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. His speech had done more than introduce humanity to the galaxy. It had set in motion a cosmic judgment that would shape the future of all sentient life. The elderly diplomat straightened in his wheelchair, his eyes blazing with determination. Whatever trials lay ahead, he knew that humanity would face them together. The journey to the stars had only just begun, and its course would be more perilous and wondrous than anyone could have imagined. As the initial uproar from Marcus's speech began to subside, the Galactic Senate chamber buzzed with attention, unlike anything he had ever experienced. The chair being called for a brief recess, and Marcus found himself suddenly surrounded by a swarm of alien delegates, some curious, others openly hostile. Senator Clax loomed over Marcus, mandibles clicking furiously. "You dare to come here and make such claims? To offer invitations as if you have any standing in this body?" The insectoid being's compound eyes flashed with anger. Before Marcus could respond, he felt a sharp pain lance through his chest. He gasped, clutching at his heart. The stress of the moment, combined with the alien environment, was taking its toll on his aged body. "Medical team to the central platform," Elder Xylos's voice rang out, its shimmering form descending rapidly from the upper tiers. As Marcus fought to catch his breath, he saw concern and fear etched on the faces or equivalent features of those around him. Even Senator Clax had taken a step back, its aggressive posture softening slightly. The next few hours passed in a blur of alien medical procedures and urgent consultations. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness, catching snippets of conversation. "Human physiology is so fragile. Can't risk him dying here. The diplomatic fallout would be. Perhaps we should send him back to Earth." When Marcus finally regained full awareness, he found himself in a strange, shimmering chamber. The walls pulsed with a soft, healing light, and he felt oddly weightless. "Welcome back, Marcus Chen." Elder Xylos's voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You gave us quite a scare." Marcus tried to sit up, but found he couldn't move. "What? What happened?" "Your body experienced severe stress," Xylos explained. "We've placed you in a stasis field to stabilize your condition. I'm afraid the strain of your journey and your speech has taken a greater toll than we anticipated." The implications of this hit Marcus hard. He had known this mission might be his last, but he hadn't expected it to end like this. "The Senate? What's happening?" Xylos's form shimmered with what might have been concern. "Your words have had a profound impact, Marcus. The Senate is in turmoil. Some factions are calling for immediate action on Earth's petition, while others—" The elder alien paused. Others are demanding access to the memory key you mentioned. Marcus felt a chill run through him. They can't. The consequences. We know, Xylos assured him. The key is safe for now. But Marcus, you must understand your speech has set in motion events that cannot be easily controlled. The galaxy's attention is now fixed on Earth and humanity in a way it has never been before. As if to emphasize this point, a holographic display flickered to life beside Marcus's stasis field. It showed scenes from across the galaxy, alien news broadcasts discussing Earth, protests on distant worlds both for and against human inclusion, and most shockingly, images of Earth itself, with strange phenomena appearing in the skies above major cities. "What's happening back home?" Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. "The veil of secrecy has been lifted," Xylos explained. "Multiple species have broken protocol and initiated open contact with Earth. Your world is adapting as best it can." Marcus watched in awe and horror as the images shifted, showing scenes of first contact occurring simultaneously across the globe. In some places, there was celebration and wonder. In others, panic and chaos reigned. This isn't what I wanted," Marcus said, feeling the weight of billions of lives on his conscience. "Perhaps not," Xylos agreed, "but it may have been inevitable. Your species has been on the cusp of this moment for longer than you know. Your speech simply provided the final push." A new alert flashed on the holographic display. Marcus saw an image of the Galactic Senate chamber, where a vote appeared to be taking place. "They're deciding Earth's fate," Xylos explained, "and by extension, the fate of the entire galaxy. Your revelations about the memory key have forced many old truths into the light. Ancient alliances are fracturing, new coalitions forming. The balance of power is shifting as we speak." Marcus felt a mix of pride and terror. He had come here to secure humanity's place among the stars, but in doing so, he had inadvertently reshaped the entire galactic political landscape. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice weak but determined. Xylos's form pulsed with an emotion Marcus couldn't quite identify. "Now, Marcus Chen, you rest and heal. You've done your part more than anyone could have expected. The galaxy will never be the same, for better or worse." As Marcus processed this, he felt a strange sensation in his chest. It wasn't pain, exactly, but a feeling of expansion, as if his heart was growing to encompass the vastness of what he had set in motion. "Elder Xylos," Marcus said, his voice growing stronger, "I need to speak to the Senate again. There's more they need to know, more that humanity needs to know." The alien elder was silent for a moment. "Are you certain, Marcus? The physical toll could be fatal?" "Yes, I understand," Marcus interrupted. "But I didn't come this far to leave the job half done. Humanity's future, the galaxy's future, is at stake. Whatever the personal cost, I have to see this through." Xylos's form shimmered with what might have been respect. "Very well, Marcus Chen. I will make the arrangements. But know this: whatever happens next, you have already changed the course of galactic history. Your name will be remembered among the stars for eons to come." As the stasis field began to lower, Marcus closed his eyes, gathering his strength for what lay ahead. He had paid a heavy personal price for his bold stand, but as the weight of galactic attention pressed down upon him, he knew it was worth it. The journey that had begun with a mysterious invitation in his small apartment on Earth was far from over. Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, prepared himself for one last speech, one that would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of all sentient life in the galaxy. As the initial uproar from Marcus's speech began to subside, the Galactic Senate chamber buzzed with a tension unlike anything he had ever experienced. The chair being called for a brief recess, and Marcus found himself suddenly surrounded by a swarm of alien delegates, some curious, others openly hostile. Senator Clax loomed over Marcus, mandibles clicking furiously. "You dare to come here and make such claims? To offer invitations as if you have any standing in this body?" The insectoid being's compound eyes flashed with anger. Before Marcus could respond, He felt a gentle touch on his shoulder. Senator Zarak's crystalline form shimmered beside him. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion in a more private setting," the crystalline being chimed, its voice cutting through the growing tension. As if on cue, Elder Xylos materialized before them, its shimmering form creating a barrier between Marcus and the more aggressive delegates. "Agreed. Marcus Chen, please join us in the council chamber. We have much to discuss." As Marcus was wheeled away from the main floor, he caught glimpses of the chaos erupting in his wake. Delegates were forming impromptu alliances, arguing heatedly, and in some cases, seeming to prepare for conflict. The memory key pulsed warmly in his pocket, a reminder of the power and danger he carried. The council chamber was a stark contrast to the Grand Senate Hall. It was smaller, more intimate, with a circular table at its center. As Marcus took his place, he found himself surrounded by a diverse group of alien leaders, each representing a major galactic faction. Elder Xylos spoke first, its form rippling with what might have been concern. "Marcus Chen, you have set in motion events that cannot be easily controlled. The balance of power in the galaxy is shifting as we speak." Senator Zarak chimed in, its crystalline structure refracting light in complex patterns. "Some see your speech as a threat, others as an opportunity, but all agree that the status quo cannot hold." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "I understand, but humanity cannot remain isolated any longer. We're ready to take our place in the galactic community." A being composed of swirling gases spoke next, its voice a sibilant whisper. "And what of the memory key you mentioned? The hidden truths it contains could destabilize everything we've built." Marcus felt all eyes in the room focus on him. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "The key contains information that could change how we all view our shared history. But I believe that facing these truths together is the only way forward." The room erupted into debate. Some argued for immediately accessing the key's data, while others warned of the dangers of uncontrolled information. Marcus watched as alliances formed and fractured before his eyes, the political landscape shifting like quicksand. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the chamber. A holographic display flickered to life, showing scenes of chaos erupting throughout the Senate station. Delegates were clashing in the corridors, and reports were coming in of ships mobilizing in nearby space. "It's begun," Elder Xylos said gravely. "Your speech has sparked a powder keg of long simmering tensions. We must act quickly to prevent all-out war." Marcus felt a surge of guilt, but also determination. He hadn't come this far to see the galaxy tear itself apart. "What can we do?" Senator Zarak's crystalline form pulsed with energy. "We need to form a coalition, a united front to present to the Senate. Show them that cooperation between species is not only possible but essential." "Agreed," said a towering, tree-like being that Marcus recognized as Ambassador Arboros of the Sylvan Conclave. "But we must also address the immediate crisis. The station's security systems are being overwhelmed." As if to emphasize the point, the chamber shook with a distant explosion. Marcus gripped the arms of his wheelchair, his mind racing. "The memory key," he said suddenly. "It doesn't just contain historical data. It's a key in the truest sense. It can interface with ancient systems throughout the galaxy, including this station." The alien leaders looked at him in shock. Elder Xylos floated closer, its form shimmering intensely. "Marcus, are you certain? Using the key could have unforeseen consequences." Marcus nodded, his resolve strengthening. "It's a risk we have to take, but I won't do it unilaterally. This has to be a joint decision." The room fell silent as the alien leaders considered the implications. Finally, Ambassador Arboros spoke, its voice like rustling leaves. "I say we proceed. The old secrets have done enough damage. It's time for a new era of openness." One by one, the other leaders voiced their agreement. As another explosion rocked the station, Marcus pulled out the memory key. Its surface glowed with an otherworldly light, pulsing in time with the beating of his heart. "Here goes everything," Marcus muttered as he activated the device. The effect was immediate and stunning. The key projected a holographic interface that filled the entire chamber. Ancient star maps, long-forgotten treaties, and schematics for technologies beyond their comprehension swirled around them. By the cosmic winds, the gaseous being whispered in awe. Marcus focused his thoughts, and the interface responded, zeroing in on the station's systems. With a few mental commands, he was able to activate long-dormant security protocols. Throughout the station, energy fields sprang to life, separating warring factions and restoring order. But that was just the beginning. The key was revealing so much more: the true history of the galaxy, the interconnectedness of all species, the grand design that had brought them all to this point. As the alien leaders absorbed this flood of information, Marcus felt a change come over the room. Old enmities were fading, replaced by a sense of shared purpose and wonder. Elder Xylos turned to Marcus, its form glowing brightly. "Marcus Chen, you have done more than secure humanity's place in the stars. You have given us all a chance at a truly united galaxy." As the chaos outside subsided and messages of confusion and hope began pouring in from across the station, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, he felt truly optimistic about the future. The memory key pulsed one final time and went dark, its purpose fulfilled. But its effects would ripple across the cosmos for eons to come. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and Marcus Chen, the unlikely diplomat, had ensured that those steps would lead not to conflict, but to a new age of cooperation and discovery. As the alien leaders began discussing plans for addressing the full Senate, Marcus closed his eyes, feeling a profound sense of peace. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, a united front in a vast and wondrous galaxy. As the initial uproar from Marcus's speech began to subside, an eerie silence fell over the Senate chamber. The chairbeing's attempts to call for order faded into a tense hush. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine as he noticed a strange, pulsating light emanating from the highest tiers of the chamber. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed through the vast space, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The human speaks of invitation and cooperation, but he carries with him a weapon of unimaginable power. All eyes turned to the source of the voice. A being unlike any Marcus had seen before materialized in the center of the chamber. Its form was constantly shifting, a swirling mass of energy and matter that hurt the eyes to look at directly. "I am Zyxner of the Eternal Watchers," the being announced, its voice reverberating through Marcus's very bones. "We have observed your species for millennia, and we cannot allow the secrets contained within that memory key to be revealed." Panic erupted throughout the chamber. Delegates scrambled for cover or reached for weapons. Marcus felt the memory key grow hot in his pocket, as if responding to Zyxner's presence. Elder Xylos glided swiftly to Marcus's side, its form shimmering with urgency. "Marcus, you must not let them take the key. The fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy, depends on it." Before Marcus could respond, a beam of energy lanced out from Zyxner, narrowly missing him and scorching the platform where he sat. The elderly diplomat found himself being whisked away by Senator Zarak, the crystalline being's strong arms lifting him from his wheelchair. "This way," Zarak chimed, its voice tight with tension. "We have a safe room prepared for such emergencies." As they raced through the chaos of the chamber, Marcus caught glimpses of the unfolding pandemonium. Some delegates were fleeing, while others seemed to be taking sides in what was quickly becoming a full-scale battle. Energy weapons flashed, and the air crackled with alien technologies beyond his comprehension. "What's happening?" Marcus shouted over the din. "Who are the Eternal Watchers?" Zarak's crystalline form vibrated with tension as they ducked into a hidden corridor. "They are one of the oldest and most secretive factions in the galaxy. If they're revealing themselves now, the situation is far more dire than we realized." As they reached a heavily fortified door, Marcus felt the memory key pulse violently in his pocket. Suddenly, a holographic interface sprang to life around him, filling the corridor with swirling data and ancient star maps. "By the cosmic winds," Zarak whispered in awe. "The key is activating." Marcus stared in wonder as information flooded his mind. He saw flashes of Earth's true history, alien interventions, hidden wars, and manipulations that spanned millennia. But more than that, he saw the intricate web of galactic politics, the hidden strings that had been pulled to keep humanity isolated and unaware. "We can't let them have this information," Marcus said, his voice filled with newfound determination. "But we can't keep it hidden either. The truth needs to come out, for everyone's sake." Just then, the fortified door behind them exploded inward. Zeichner floated through the debris, its form crackling with barely contained energy. "Give us the key, human, and your species may yet be spared." Marcus stood tall, despite the pain in his aged bones. "No," he said firmly. "This knowledge doesn't belong to you, or to humanity alone. It belongs to everyone." With trembling hands, he raised the memory key. The device pulsed once, twice, and then released a blinding flash of light. Marcus felt a surge of energy course through him as the key's full power was unleashed. In that moment, every being in the Senate station, and indeed, across much of the galaxy, received a vision. They saw glimpses of the hidden truths, the manipulations and secrets that had shaped galactic history. But more than that, they felt the weight of the choice that now lay before them. As the light faded, Marcus found himself back in the main Senate chamber, surrounded by stunned and shaken delegates. Zeichner and the other Eternal Watchers had vanished, unable to maintain their presence in the face of the revealed truths. The chair being, its voice quavering, addressed the assembly. "What have you done, Marcus Chen of Earth?" Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of galaxies on his shoulders. "I've given us all a choice. We can continue down the path of secrets and manipulation, or we can forge a new way forward, one of openness, cooperation, and shared knowledge." Elder Xylos floated forward, its form shimmering with what might have been pride. "The human speaks wisdom beyond his years. We stand at a crossroads, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life in the galaxy." As the delegates began to discuss and debate the ramifications of what had just occurred, Marcus realized that his speech had done far more than he had ever intended. He had not just pleaded humanity's case, he had shattered the very foundations of galactic politics. The consequences of his actions would ripple across the cosmos for eons to come. Alliances would crumble, new coalitions would form, and the balance of power would shift in ways no one could predict. But through it all, there was now a chance for something truly revolutionary, a galactic civilization built on truth and mutual understanding. As Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, sat amidst the swirling chaos of the Senate chamber, he felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had come seeking acceptance for humanity, but had instead sparked a transformation that would reshape the very fabric of interstellar society. The memory key, now dormant in his pocket, had served its purpose. The truth was out, for better or worse, and as the debate raged around him, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them not as outsiders, but as full partners in the grand cosmic dance of sentient life. The speech that shook the galaxy had done more than just introduce humanity to the stars. It had given the entire universe a chance at a new beginning. As the initial shock of Marcus's speech began to subside, the Galactic Senate chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates from various factions shouted over one another, some calling for immediate action, others demanding further investigation. The air crackled with tension, and Marcus could sense that the situation was teetering on the edge of conflict. Senator Clayax's massive form rose above the crowd, mandibles clicking furiously. "This human speaks of peace and cooperation, but he carries a weapon of truth that could destabilize everything we've built." The insectoid being's compound eyes flashed with anger. "I move for the immediate confiscation of this memory key and the quarantine of Earth until we can verify these outrageous claims." A roar of approval rose from one section of the chamber, but it was quickly met with shouts of protest from another. Marcus gripped the arms of his wheelchair, his knuckles white. He had known his words would be controversial, but he hadn't anticipated such an immediate and hostile reaction. As the clamor grew, Marcus caught sight of Elder Xylos descending from the upper tiers, its shimmering form parting the crowd. The ancient being's voice cut through the din like a knife. "Colleagues, let us not act in haste. We stand at a crossroads, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life in the galaxy." Marcus saw his opportunity and seized it. "Elder Xylos is right," he called out, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "What we do here today will echo through the ages, but it doesn't have to be a choice between conflict and capitulation." He wheeled himself to the center of the platform, feeling the weight of countless alien eyes upon him. "I understand your fears. The unknown can be terrifying. But consider this: every species represented here once stood where humanity stands now, on the threshold of a larger universe." Marcus gestured to the memory key, still safely in his pocket. "This device doesn't just contain Earth's hidden history. It holds truths about all of us, about how we've all been shaped by forces beyond our control. But it also shows how we've all risen above those manipulations, how we've grown and evolved." A murmur of interest rippled through the crowd. Marcus pressed on, his diplomatic instincts kicking into high gear. "I propose we form a joint committee, representatives from all major galactic factions, working alongside humanity to examine the contents of the memory key together. Not to assign blame or seek retribution, but to learn from our shared past and chart a course for a better future." Senator Zarek's crystalline form shimmered as it moved forward. "The human speaks wisdom. Such transparency could foster trust and understanding between all our peoples." But Senator Klax wasn't ready to concede. "And what guarantee do we have that this isn't some elaborate human trick? How can we trust a species that's been isolated for so long?" Marcus smiled, an idea forming. "An excellent point, Senator, which is why I suggest we begin with a gesture of good faith." He turned to address the entire chamber. "As a show of humanity's commitment to openness and cooperation, I invite a delegation from the Senate to visit Earth immediately. See our world for yourselves, meet our people, judge us not by ancient data or second-hand reports, but by direct experience." The proposal sent a buzz of excitement through the chamber. Many delegates who had been hostile or indifferent now leaned forward with interest. Elder Xylos's form pulsed with what might have been approval. "A bold proposal, Marcus Chen, and one that aligns with the highest ideals of the Galactic Senate. All in favor?" To Marcus's amazement and relief, a majority of appendages, tentacles, and other alien limbs were raised in assent. The Senate chair being's mandibles clicked rapidly as it considered. "Very well. We shall dispatch a delegation to Earth immediately. In the meantime, a committee will be formed to work with Marcus Chen on examining the contents of the memory key. This session is adjourned until the delegation returns with their report." As the chamber began to empty, Marcus found himself surrounded by a mix of curious and supportive delegates. Senator Zarek approached, its crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. "Well played, Marcus Chen. You've given us all a chance at a new beginning." Marcus nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "It's just the first step, Senator. There's still so much work to be done." As he was wheeled out of the chamber, Marcus caught sight of a small figure watching him from the shadows. It was Zixtara, the alien child he had met earlier. The young being's antennae quivered with what might have been excitement. "You did it, Mr. Marcus," Zixtara chittered. "You made them listen." Marcus smiled, reaching out to gently pat the child's head. "We all did it, Zixtara. And now, the real journey begins." As he was escorted back to his quarters, Marcus felt the weight of the memory key in his pocket. He knew that the revelations it contained could still spark conflict if not handled carefully. But for now, he had bought time and opened a door to dialogue. The fate of Earth, and indeed, the entire galaxy, was still uncertain. But Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, had done what he set out to do. He had made the Senate listen, had planted the seeds of understanding and had taken the first steps towards a new era of interstellar cooperation. As he settled into his room, Marcus gazed out at the star-filled expanse beyond his window. Somewhere out there was Earth, still unaware of the momentous events unfolding. He closed his eyes, sending a silent hope to the stars that he had made the right choices, that the path he had set them on would lead to a brighter future for all. The journey that had begun with a mysterious invitation in his small apartment on Earth was far from over. But now, as Marcus Chen prepared for the challenges ahead, he knew that humanity would not face them alone. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, and he had helped write its opening lines. As the initial uproar from Marcus's speech began to subside, the Senate chamber buzzed with a tension unlike anything he had ever experienced. The chair being called for order, its mandibles clicking rapidly as it surveyed the assembled delegates. "We have heard the words of Marcus Chen of Earth," the chair being announced, its voice echoing through the vast chamber. "Now, we must deliberate on humanity's petition for inclusion in the galactic community." What followed was unlike any debate Marcus had witnessed in his long diplomatic career. Delegates from across the galaxy argued passionately, their voices a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and otherworldly sounds that his translator struggled to keep up with. Senator Clax rose, its massive insectoid form towering over the others. "We cannot ignore the potential threat humanity poses," it chittered. "Their history of conflict, their rapid technological advancement, they could destabilize the entire galactic order." But before Marcus could respond, an unexpected ally emerged. The crystalline form of Senator Zarek shimmered as it spoke. And yet, it is precisely that capacity for growth and change that makes humanity valuable. Think of the fresh perspectives they could bring to our ancient institutions. The debate raged on, with factions forming and dissolving before Marcus's eyes. He watched, heart-pounding, as the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Suddenly, Elder Xylos floated down from the highest tier, its shimmering form commanding immediate attention. "Colleagues," it began, its voice resonating with ancient wisdom, "we stand at a crossroads. The decision we make today will echo through the ages. Let us not be hasty, but neither let us be overly cautious. I propose a compromise." The chamber fell silent, all eyes on the respected elder. Marcus leaned forward, hardly daring to breathe. "We shall grant humanity provisional membership in the galactic community," Xylos continued. "For a period of one galactic standard cycle, Earth will be open to diplomatic missions and cultural exchanges. During this time, we will closely observe their interactions and progress. At the cycle's end, we will reconvene to make a final decision on their status." A murmur ran through the assembly. Marcus could see many delegates nodding in agreement. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was far more than he had dared to hope for. The chair being raised its appendages for silence. "We shall put Elder Xylos's proposal to a vote. All in favor." Marcus watched with bated breath as appendages, tentacles, and other alien limbs were raised across the chamber. It was close, agonizingly so. But as the final tally was announced, he felt a wave of relief wash over him. "The motion carries," the chair being declared. "Earth is hereby granted provisional membership in the galactic community, effective immediately." The chamber erupted once more, but this time with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Marcus felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see Senator Zarek, its crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. "You've done it, Marcus Chen," Zarek chimed. "You've opened the door for humanity. But remember, this is just the beginning. The real work starts now." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "What happens next?" he asked. Elder Xylos glided over, its form shimmering with what might have been approval. "Now, Marcus Chen, you return to Earth as our ambassador. You must prepare your people for what is to come. The galaxy will be watching closely." As the implications of the Senate's decisions began to sink in, Marcus realized that his journey was far from over. He had secured humanity's chance, but now they had to prove themselves worthy of it. The memory key pulsed in his pocket, a reminder of the truths yet to be revealed. Marcus knew that the information it contained could still shake the foundations of galactic society. But for now, it would remain a secret. The time wasn't right, not yet. As the session adjourned and delegates began to disperse, Marcus found himself surrounded by a mix of curious and supportive aliens. Many offered congratulations, while others expressed cautious optimism about future cooperation. Marcus's mind raced with the enormity of the task ahead. How would he explain this to the leaders of Earth? How would humanity react to the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe? And how would they handle the scrutiny of countless alien species over the coming galactic cycle? As he was wheeled out of the chamber, Marcus caught sight of a small figure watching him from the shadows. It was Zixtara, the alien child he had met earlier. The young being's antennae quivered with what might have been excitement. "You did it, Mr. Marcus," Zixtara chittered. "Does this mean I can visit Earth someday?" Marcus smiled, reaching out to gently pat the child's head. "I hope so, Zixtara. We have a lot of work to do, but I believe this is the beginning of a wonderful adventure for all of us." As he was escorted back to his quarters to prepare for the journey home, Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had come seeking acceptance for humanity, but had instead sparked the beginning of a new era for the entire galaxy. The memory key sat heavy in his pocket, a reminder of the challenges yet to come. But as Marcus gazed out at the star-filled expanse beyond his window, he felt a surge of hope. Whatever the future held, humanity would face it not as an isolated species, but as part of a vast and wondrous cosmic community. The speech that shook the galaxy had done more than just introduce humanity to the stars. It had opened the door to a future of unprecedented cooperation, discovery, and growth. And Marcus Chen, the unexpected envoy, had played a pivotal role in shaping that future. As he closed his eyes, preparing for the long journey back to Earth, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The adventure was only just beginning, and he couldn't wait to see what wonders awaited humanity among the stars. As the initial uproar from Marcus's speech began to subside, the Senate chamber buzzed with attention unlike anything he had ever experienced. The chair being called for order, its mandibles clicking rapidly as it surveyed the assembled delegates. "We have heard the words of Marcus Chen of Earth," the chair being announced, its voice echoing through the vast chamber. "Now, we must deliberate on humanity's petition for inclusion in the galactic community." Marcus knew this was his final chance to secure Earth's future. He felt the weight of the memory key in his pocket, a reminder of the truths he carried. But he also remembered Zixtara's wide-eyed wonder and the unexpected allies he had made during his time here. With a deep breath, he signaled that he wished to speak once more. "Honored delegates," Marcus began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I thank you for your consideration. Before you make your decision, I ask that you allow me one final address." The chair being hesitated, then nodded. "Proceed, Marcus Chen of Earth." Marcus wheeled himself to the center of the platform, feeling the eyes of countless alien species upon him. "Throughout my time here, I've spoken of humanity's potential, our curiosity, our capacity for growth. But now, I want to speak of our legacy, not just the legacy we hope to build among the stars, but the one we've already created on Earth." He paused, letting his words sink in. "For millennia, we humans have been storytellers. We've woven tales of heroism and tragedy, of love and loss, of triumph over adversity. These stories are more than mere entertainment, they are the vessels of our values, our hopes, and our dreams." Marcus's hand brushed against the memory key in his pocket. "I carry with me a device that holds hidden truths about our past. But I realize now that the most important truths are not hidden at all, they're in the stories we tell, the art we create, the music we compose." He gestured to the vast array of alien delegates before him. "Each of you represents a unique culture, a distinct way of perceiving the universe. Imagine the stories we could share, the art we could create together. Humanity's legacy in the galaxy need not be one of conflict or competition, but of cultural exchange and mutual enrichment." Marcus's voice grew more passionate. We humans have a saying, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. By joining the galactic community, we offer not just our potential for future growth, but the wisdom gained from our past. Our triumphs and our mistakes, our moments of greatness and our darkest hours, all of these can serve as lessons for a shared future. He noticed some delegates leaning forward, intrigued. Even Senator Clax's mandibles had stopped their agitated clicking. But more than that, Marcus continued, we offer our imagination, our ability to envision futures that don't yet exist, to dream of possibilities beyond our current reach. This imagination has driven us to explore our world, to push the boundaries of our science and technology. Imagine what we could accomplish if we applied that same creative spirit to the challenges facing the galaxy. Marcus wheeled closer to the edge of the platform, his eyes scanning the chamber. I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a bridge between our world and yours. My life has been long by human standards, and I've seen my species grow and change in ways I never thought possible. I've also had the privilege of glimpsing the wonders of your galactic society. He felt a lump form in his throat, but pushed on. I may not live to see humanity take its place among the stars, but by accepting us into your community, you ensure that future generations, both human and alien, will inherit a richer, more diverse galaxy. A galaxy where the stories of Earth blend with the tales of 1,000 worlds, creating a tapestry of shared experience that spans the cosmos. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out the memory key. This device holds secrets that could shake the foundations of our understanding, but I choose not to activate it. Instead, I offer it to the Senate as a symbol of trust. Let a joint committee of humans and members of the galactic community examine its contents together. Let us face our shared past and shape our shared future with open hearts and minds. He held the key out before him, its surface glinting in the chamber's light. In doing so, we take the first step towards a legacy that will outlast any single species or civilization. A legacy of cooperation, of mutual understanding, and of boundless possibility. As Marcus concluded his speech, a hush fell over the Senate chamber. He could see the impact of his words reflected in the faces and other sensory organs of the assembled delegates. Some seemed moved, others thoughtful, and a few even appeared inspired. Elder Xylos floated down from the highest tier, its shimmering form commanding attention. Marcus Chen of Earth has spoken with wisdom beyond his years, or perhaps, with the perfect blend of youthful hope and elderly insight. I move that we put to vote not just Earth's admission to the galactic community, but the formation of the joint committee he proposed. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The chair being raised its appendages for silence. Very well. We shall vote on two measures, the provisional acceptance of Earth into the galactic community, and the formation of a joint human-alien committee to examine the contents of the memory key and foster cultural exchange. Marcus held his breath as the votes were cast. Time seemed to stretch as the results were tallied. Finally, the chair being spoke again. By majority decision, both measures have passed. Earth is granted provisional membership in the galactic community, subject to review after one galactic standard cycle. The joint committee will be formed immediately. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some celebratory, others cautionary. But Marcus barely heard them. He felt a wave of relief and exhaustion wash over him. He had done it. He had secured a future for humanity among the stars. As delegates began to approach him, some offering congratulations, others expressing cautious optimism, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Earth would face them not as an isolated world, but as part of a vast and wondrous galactic family. The elderly human diplomat had ensured a lasting legacy, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. As he prepared to return to Earth with news that would change everything, Marcus Chen knew that the greatest adventure in human history was only just beginning. As the Galactic Senate session drew to a close, Marcus Chen found himself in a whirlwind of activity. Delegates from various species approached him, some offering congratulations, others expressing cautious optimism about future cooperation. The elderly diplomat felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration as he realized the full impact of what had transpired. Elder Xylos glided over, its shimmering form pulsing with what Marcus had come to recognize as approval. Marcus Chen of Earth, you have accomplished something truly remarkable today. The path you've opened for humanity will reshape the galaxy for eons to come. Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Thank you, Elder. But this is just the beginning, isn't it? Indeed, Xylos agreed. The real work starts now. You've secured humanity's chance, but now your species must prove itself worthy of it. As Marcus was escorted back to his quarters to prepare for the journey home, he found himself lost in thought. The memory key sat heavy in his pocket, a reminder of the truths yet to be fully revealed. He knew that the information it contained could still shake the foundations of galactic society. But for now, it would remain a secret. The time wasn't right, not yet. Entering his room, Marcus wheeled himself to the window, gazing out at the star-filled expanse. Somewhere out there was Earth, still unaware of the momentous events that had unfolded. How would he explain this to the leaders of his world? How would humanity react to the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe? And how would they handle the scrutiny of countless alien species over the coming galactic cycle? As these questions swirled in his mind, Marcus felt a sudden pang of realization. He had spent his entire life working towards this moment, dreaming of a future where humanity would take its place among the stars. But now that it was finally happening, he knew he wouldn't live to see it fully realized. A knock at the door interrupted his reverie. Senator Zarak entered, its crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. Marcus, the ship that will take you back to Earth is almost ready. But before you go, there's something we need to discuss. Marcus turned to face the alien senator, noting the serious tone in its chiming voice. What is it, Senator? Zarak's form shimmered with what might have been hesitation. The Senate has been discussing your role going forward. Many feel that you are uniquely qualified to serve as a liaison between Earth and the galactic community. We, would like you to consider staying on as Earth's permanent ambassador. The offer took Marcus by surprise. He had assumed his mission would end with his return to Earth. I'm honored, Senator, but I'm an old man. My time is limited. We understand that, Zarak replied. But your wisdom and experience are invaluable. And there are possibilities we could explore to extend your lifespan, if you're willing. Marcus felt a rush of conflicting emotions. The chance to continue his work, to guide humanity through its first steps into the galactic community, was tempting. But the thought of artificially extending his life gave him pause. I need time to think about this, Marcus said finally. It's not a decision to be made lightly. Zarak nodded, its crystalline structure chiming softly. Of course. But know that whatever you decide, you have already secured your place in galactic history. As the alien senator left, Marcus turned back to the window, his mind racing. He thought of his long life, the decades of diplomatic service that had led him to this point. He had always seen himself as a bridge builder, someone who could connect different cultures and find common ground. Now, he was being offered the chance to be the ultimate bridge between Earth and the entire galaxy. But as he contemplated this possibility, Marcus felt a bittersweet realization wash over him. His life's work had been about preparing humanity for this moment, for the day when they would join the galactic community. And now that it was finally happening, he found himself torn between the desire to see it through and the recognition that perhaps it was time for younger minds to take the lead. He thought of Zixtara, the alien child whose wonder and curiosity had reminded him of humanity's best qualities. Perhaps the future belonged to that generation, the ones who would grow up knowing a universe filled with diverse species and cultures. As Marcus began to pack his few belongings, his hand brushed against the memory key. He realized that his final, and perhaps most important act as Earth's representative might be deciding when and how to reveal the truths it contained. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily on him, but one he knew he couldn't entrust to anyone else, not yet. The journey back to Earth would give him time to reflect, to decide on his next steps. But as he prepared to leave the Senate station, Marcus Chen felt a profound sense of accomplishment mingled with a touch of sadness. He had achieved his life's goal, opening the door for humanity to join the galactic community. But the future he had worked so hard to create would largely unfold without him. As he was escorted to the ship that would take him home, Marcus caught sight of his reflection in a polished wall. He saw an old man, tired but with eyes still bright with purpose. He might not live to see humanity fully integrated into the galactic community, but he had laid the foundation. His speech had shaken the galaxy, and the ripples of that moment would continue long after he was gone. With a deep breath, Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat, prepared for his journey home. He carried with him not just the memory key and the Senate's decision, but the weight of humanity's future among the stars. Whatever he decided about his own role going forward, he knew that his life's work had reached its culmination. Humanity's great adventure was just beginning, and he had helped write its opening chapter. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Marcus closed his eyes, sending a silent hope to the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was finally ready to explore it. And though he might not be there to see it all unfold, Marcus Chen knew that his legacy would live on in every human who looked up at the night sky and dreamed of the adventures that awaited them among the stars. Epilogue: Echoes across the stars. 10 Earth years had passed since Marcus Chen's historic speech to the Galactic Senate. The elderly diplomat, now 102 years old, sat in his hover chair on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first extraterrestrial diplomatic outpost. Through the vast transparent dome, he could see the blue marble of his home world, surrounded by a bustling array of alien ships coming and going. Marcus smiled, remembering the day he had returned to Earth with news that would change everything. The initial shock and disbelief had given way to a global renaissance of art, science, and culture as humanity prepared to take its place among the stars. Ambassador Chen, a melodious voice chimed. Marcus turned to see Zixtara, no longer a child but a young adult, its iridescent exoskeleton shimmering in the starlight. The Galactic Council is ready for your address. Marcus nodded, feeling a familiar mix of pride and trepidation. In the decades since his speech, he had become humanity's primary representative to the newly formed Galactic Council, a more inclusive body that had replaced the old Senate. As they made their way to the communication hub, Marcus reflected on the changes his words had set in motion. The interspecies cultural exchange program he had proposed had been an unprecedented success, fostering understanding and cooperation between Earth and countless alien civilizations. Earth's cities now bustled with alien visitors, while human explorers and diplomats ventured to the far reaches of the galaxy. The exchange of knowledge and technology had accelerated human progress beyond anyone's wildest dreams, solving many of Earth's most pressing problems. But it hadn't all been smooth sailing. The revelation of the memory key's contents had sent shockwaves through galactic society, exposing ancient manipulations and hidden truths. Some species had reacted with anger, others with shame or denial. It had taken years of careful diplomacy to prevent these revelations from sparking interstellar conflicts. As Marcus prepared to address the Council, he thought of the challenges that still lay ahead. Humanity's rapid advancement had made some older species nervous, leading to whispers of containment and restriction. And there were still vast regions of the galaxy unexplored, holding unknown wonders and potential threats. The holographic projector hummed to life, filling the room with the ghostly images of alien representatives from across the galaxy. Marcus straightened in his chair, clearing his throat. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice still strong despite his advanced age. "A decade ago, I stood before your predecessors, offering an invitation. Today, I stand before you to reaffirm humanity's commitment to our shared future." As he spoke, Marcus could see the faces and other sensory organs of the delegates. Some, like Zarak and Arboros, had become close allies and friends. Others, like Clax, remained skeptical, but had grudgingly come to respect humanity's contributions. In these 10 years, we have learned much from you all, Marcus continued. Your wisdom has helped us avoid repeating the mistakes of our past. Your technology has allowed us to heal our planet and reach for the stars. But we have also given much in return. Our art has inspired new forms of expression across the galaxy. Our unique perspective has led to breakthroughs in sciences both theoretical and practical. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we must not become complacent. The galaxy is vast, and there is still so much to discover, so much to understand. We face challenges that can only be overcome by working together. Marcus's voice grew more passionate. I propose that we take the next step in our shared journey. Let us form a galactic exploration initiative, pooling our resources and knowledge to push the boundaries of known space. Let us face the unknown not as separate species, but as a united galactic community. As he outlined his proposal, Marcus could see the delegates leaning in, their interest piqued. Even those who had been wary of humanity's rapid rise seemed intrigued by the possibilities. There are those who fear change, Marcus acknowledged, who worry that humanity's growth might upset the balance of power. To them, I say, look at what we have accomplished together in just 10 years. Imagine what we could achieve in a century, in a millennium, if we continue to work as one. As Marcus concluded his address, he felt a familiar pulse from his pocket. The memory key, dormant for years, seemed to stir. He knew that there were still secrets to be revealed, truths that could reshape galactic society even further. But those were challenges for another day. The council erupted in discussion, with many delegates voicing immediate support for the exploration initiative. As the session concluded, Marcus felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He had given everything he had to bridge the gap between Earth and the galactic community, and now it was time for younger minds to take the lead. Zixtara approached, its antennae quivering with excitement. That was incredible, Ambassador Chen. Do you think the Council will approve the initiative? Marcus smiled, patting the young alien's arm. I believe they will, Zixtara, and I believe you and your generation will be the ones to make it a reality. As they made their way back to the observation deck, Marcus gazed out at the star-filled expanse. He thought of the billions of humans and aliens whose lives had been changed by the events set in motion by his speech a decade ago. He thought of the countless worlds yet to be discovered, the mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Marcus Chen, the elderly human diplomat who had shaken the galaxy with a single speech, felt a profound sense of peace. He had done what he set out to do. He had secured humanity's place among the stars and laid the groundwork for a future of unprecedented cooperation and discovery. As Earth rotated slowly below, its night side coming into view, Marcus saw the lights of cities twinkling alongside the bioluminescent structures of alien embassies. It was a testament to how far they had come and a promise of how far they could go. The journey that had begun with a mysterious invitation in his small apartment on Earth had led to this moment, and though Marcus knew he wouldn't live to see all that was to come, he was filled with hope for the future, a future where humanity and its alien allies would face the wonders and challenges of the cosmos together. The galaxy had been reshaped, and the greatest adventures were yet to come.